Slow drip, slow drip. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council meeting to order. At this time, I yield to Councilmember Miranda, who will welcome and introduce our invocation guest today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very fortunate today to introduce a friend of ours and a friend of all the community. He has been the senior chaplain for 35 years at the Tampa Police Department in patrol, and his Prentice Davis is here. He's always here when he's not here because he's always taking care of everyone here to make sure that everything goes well, and he prays for all of us on a daily basis. He's a founding member of the Pastors on Patrol, and he's the overseer of the Word of God Ministries. We welcome you, Pastor. Appreciate again you coming and giving us your wisdom.
All right, please stand and remain standing for the pledge right after.
Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning asking your blessings upon this gathering of leaders and community to deal with the issues of this city. Bless us with the presence of mind to consult with you, that you might lead them and guide them in the way that you would have them to go, that this community would receive the best service and the best leadership that they can find. We thank you, Father, for the opportunity to bring forth your word and your prayers to these your people. Saturate them with your love and let your peace fall upon this place and lead them and guide them as only you can in the pathways of righteousness. To your glory be honor, majesty, dominion, and power. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, if we could have roll call, please.
Carlson.
Here.
Hurtak.
Here.
Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson. Vieira. Miranda.
Here.
And Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. I have a memo from Councilmember Henderson. She will be arriving a little bit later this morning, and I just want to submit that to the record so the clerk has it, but she will be here shortly. At this time, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes from November 2nd, 2023, and the evening session held on November 9th, 2023? We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm going to go over today's agenda. At this time, I have a memo from Councilmember Vieira requesting that item number 3 be heard first after lunch at 1:30 p.m. Is there a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira? All in favor? Aye. I received a memo regarding item number 5, that it be continued to December 21st, 2023. We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. At this time, okay. With the administrative update, Mr. Russell Halpert and Maryland Health will discuss item number 60 regarding a new customer service platform. That's who will be doing the administrative update. I have a request from Police Chief Burkall requesting items 61, 62, and 63 be heard together. First, under staff reports. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For item number 65, I'd like to request that staff is present for that. No motion needed for that. Item number 68, I have a memo received from Councilwoman Hurtak, I believe. Let me just look at it.
No.
No, it's not?
No, and I have already talked to Mobility and Mr. Bidet, and they will actually be here to speak on this briefly.
Oh, they will be here, so we'll leave 68 alone. Let me just go to the beginning of staff reports. So we talked about 1, 61, 62, 63. 64, would we like anybody present for 64?
Yes.
Okay, we will have somebody present for item number 64. Item number 65 was already mentioned. Item number 66. Yes, somebody will be present, or we request somebody be present for 66. Item number 67, we have a written response. Do we need anyone present for 67?
I think we have to make a, is I don't remember whether we have to make a motion on that or they're just gonna include it. So maybe we could ask.
Yeah, we'll have someone from the legal department or Ms. Zellman, the city attorney, to be on standby for 67. Worst case scenario, we receive and file it, but we will have, so that means everybody will be here for all staff reports.
Yes.
All right, at this time, may I have a motion to?
Could I just ask,
Yes.
I just realized, sorry, item number 44, I would just like to pull for separate vote.
Wait.
I don't need staff, I just want a separate vote, 44.
All right, so item number 44, we will pull for a second vote. Would you like it under staff reports, or you just want it under second vote when we get to the
Just
committee?
separate vote.
Okay,
Could-
No
could-
discussion then, just a separate vote?
I don't need a discussion, I just want to be able to vote separately.
All right.
Can I also say,
yeah.
I know that, that the CIO is coming later to talk about customer service, but there were a lot of, I want to let the public know we've transitioned from Sire to OnBase in the last week, and IT and the clerk's department has worked really hard to transition that. And I worked on a bunch of these before with clients, and they're never 100% perfect. And I just want to personally apologize to anybody who was confused or didn't see the information. We've tried to get the message out as best we can, and there have been updates to it and changes and tweaks, and I'm sure the IT department and clerk will be working on it in the future. But I would also just like to say, any chance that communication or somebody can help us to get out the word on this, that it's changed, because there were a lot of people who were frustrated and thought the agenda was being posted late, but actually it was posted on time, but to a different place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum. We have a motion from Councilmember
What about
Clendenin,
the
second.
walk-on?
Huh? Oh,
Yeah.
wait, there is a walk-on regarding ratifying, confirming the appointment of Carol Post. Yeah, we'll take that up. It'll be part of the agenda. So we have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. All right, at this time, we'll start with item number 1. Today we have the USF student government here to make a short presentation introducing themselves to council. Come on up. All of you are welcome to come up, or your main representative. And then if you'd like, we can ask all, or each member to just state their name, their major, and we'll go from there. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Maria Del Rio Mendoza. I'm the Lieutenant Governor for the Tampa campus at Student Government USF. We're here today to honor our commitment that we made 2 years ago. Well, it was actually at the beginning of last year. It was 2 student government terms ago. We proposed and we made a proclamation that we were going to commit to doing community engagement committees within the Tampa Bay community, and we have. Last year, I served as the chair of the Community Engagement Committee, and we did 6 different events related to community engagement, including hurricane relief programs. We did Feed a Boo, we did Meals on Wheels, and we've been helping in the 3 St. Pete, Tampa, and Sarasota communities. So we're here as the USF representatives to introduce those initiatives, and I would like to invite our Director of University Affairs to speak about what we're going to be doing this year.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone.
Good
This is Surya, and I'm the Director of University Affairs for the USF Tampa Student Government, representing the vibrant and diverse student body at the USF. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the exceptional leadership at the USF, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, President, and Vice President, for giving the guidance and making the students collaborate with the communities. As Maria was explaining before, the name clearly says that one USF community. We are trying to collaborate with all the campuses of the USF, and we are trying to, through this initiative, we are not only trying to engage with the community, we are also trying to help the community in the development sector. And currently, our efforts to diverse the unique ways of each campus. At the Tampa campus, we are trying to collaborate with the Ronald McDonald Shelter House, an organization that stands as a hope and support for the families in the challenging time for the senior citizens, who are the backbones of the United States and make the United States to stand here. And at the St. Pete campus, we are collaborating with the Pinellas County School Board, and this is the partnership enable us to collaborate with the students who are the future of the country and make the United States to be more proud for this. And lastly, moving to the Sarasota campus, our partnership with the United Way is a partnership to make the good things to the mental health and other things. And in conclusion, the USF student government is not only about the representing the student needs, but also engaging with the community. Thank you very much for your time. Go
Thank you
Bulls.
very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Stella Chianello. I'm the current Government Affairs Manager of the Student Government from Tampa. I'd like to thank your time and thank you the opportunity for being here. We are also working with this event. I'm organizing it. I'm organizing also the day at the Capitol where we take the students to Tallahassee. And also, I'm the one trying to organize and give the students opportunities to talk with our government, be engaged with it. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gustavo Stork. With Maria, my lieutenant, I'm the Tampa governor on our campus, so I'm responsible for leading the student government organization there. We're over 70 student workers that, with our government, we have 4 agencies that serve the students with different services, going from media to safety on campus. And yes, I've had the pleasure to lead this team, and we're very thankful to be here today. And just connecting with the City Hall. I think it's been 2 terms since we have this event, and we're very appreciative to be back. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ethan Walsh. I serve as the Tampa Deputy Financial Officer. I don't really have anything else to say. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karthik, a senator at USF Student Government. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be present here today.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hello, good morning. My name is Braden Yon. I am the Vice Chair for the Tampa Campus Council, which is our local legislative. We're serving under, or with the governor, the Lieutenant Governor, their local executive. I also don't have a whole lot to say besides very gracious that we're here and you guys are doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, City of Tampa, and thank you so much for letting us come on by City Council. My name is Jamar Smith, and I work in student government in a more of an administrative capacity, helping under the advisors as well as fellow students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rohan Railu, a senator of Student Government Tampa Campus, and nothing much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Cesar Esmeraldi. I'm the student body president. I'll be brief. Just wanted to thank you guys for your time. Thank our governor, our lieutenant, and our whole team for being here planning this. We're very excited to be here, so I hope you'll have a great session and have a great day.
Thank
Go
you very
Bulls.
much.
Thank
That's
you.
right. Well, thank you for being here today. I'm a proud USF graduate back in 2007, and the school has grown tremendously since then. It's going to continue to grow, and we're very, very proud of the institution here in our community, and we're very lucky. We're very lucky to have you. Again, thank you. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. Thanks. All right, I have item number 2.
So I started off as a high school political activist and into college, so be careful what you ask for. You could end up here one day. And some days it's a good thing, some days maybe not so much. Mr. Chairman Maniscalco.
Yep. Good morning. All right, it's my pleasure to welcome Care Team Home Care. If y'all want to come up. All right. So this morning, Tampa City Council is honored to recognize Care Team Home Care, which has been instrumental in the delivery of healthcare services to the citizens of our community and as an employer of healthcare professional throughout Tampa Bay since 1988. Over the 35-year history, they have served hundreds of thousands of patients in our community and in a single year employed nearly 1,000 healthcare professionals, significantly contributing to the overall welfare of our local community. Founded in Tampa in 1988 by Georgianne Kramer, who was a leader in the home healthcare industry since 1970. As a single woman, she navigated and succeeded where many may not have. Now 5 generations strong in the Tampa community, the Stoker family continues to bring their services and employment opportunities to the next generation. So it is Tampa City Council's distinct honor to present Care Team Home Care with this commendation on the 16th day of November, 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yes, I would.
Go ahead.
State your
Congressman Maniscalco had stated so eloquently the importance of Care Team in our community, and we have to thank our Lord for giving us the opportunity. My sister started with the company in 1988, Michelle Stoker Perry. I started a year later and have served in the CEO and COO role for at least the last 25 years. It has been so awesome what the city has done to allow us to run our business unimpeded. They've worked with us on issues in so many different ways. Recently, some potholes in the back alley. A week later, 2 weeks later, they're filled in. All the different things the city has done, and the individuals that work in our community in the healthcare sector. There's a National Nurses Week that happens every year, and we try to bring to the attention the importance of the nurses. Bill and Carissa Darnell are registered nurses that have been with us for many years now. Bill recently accepted the role of Director of Nursing, which is a very difficult position. We take care of hundreds of veterans. We have a skilled infusion, specialty infusion division that both Bill and Carissa work on, providing real high-end medical services to patients that often can't live normal lives if they don't receive these visits. And we can go right into the home and take care of them. And the veterans, my father died as a result of his service to our country, and for us to be able to take care of veterans. The elderly, we've had a pediatric division over the years, staff doctors' offices and hospitals and nursing homes, and just all those wonderful things. So we thank you very much, Congressman, or Councilman. And no, you don't want that.
He sees the future.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we appreciate all the...
So for the record and for history, can you state your name and maybe introduce everybody that's up there with you?
Yes, Frank Stoker. I've been a resident of Tampa for 59 years, or at least in the Tampa proximity. Bill Darnell, registered nurse, Carissa Darnell, registered nurse, and Michelle Stoker Perry. Sis.
Thank you so much. Council.
Thank you again.
If I may.
Councilman Vera?
Just wanted to say thank you, Councilman Maniscalco, for bringing this forward. And you, sir, mentioned nurses, and it's, we're so thankful for our nurses. We're just coming off of a pandemic where our nurses were some of our great frontline workers, along with a lot of our educators, our cops, our firefighters, and others. But y'all were really on the front lines. So we just wanted to thank you for all that you do. And you mentioned about your father, and we thank you for his service and for your family's sacrifices. And we're great today because of Americans like him, and I have gratitude for that. So thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Miranda, anything?
Thank you very much. It's a very difficult thing which you folks do on a daily basis. When you go back in history, you talked about way back. I remember in the 40s and 50s that they have a thing called Mutual Aid Society. That was the Hispanics that got together and performed their own nursing, their own doctors, their own hospitals, and it was made up of Trey's Clinic, Gonzalez Clinic, Centro Pañol, Centro Turiano, and they had like 3 or 4 little hospitals. And if you had sick, you dialed the number if you could get on, because everything was party line, and more likely you had 4 parties on one line, and you would call in and you tell them your number, they tell you about what time they'd be there, they come in and they check you over, they give a prescription, you take it to the hospital, and it was at 0 cost. You had a monthly installment, and in essence, Mutual Aid Society was really the start, in my opinion anyway, of what we have now through Social Security and other benefits that we get from the government, that when you get sick, you pay in out of your Social Security into your fund, and you get health care to some degree. But at that time, it was health care with love, because now you're only a number. At that time, they would talk to you and tell you about what your problems were and how you were going to get cured. They didn't just write, say, oh, every 20 minutes, I got to get another patient in. No. You may wait an hour or 2 to get in, but they treated you and they talked to you and try to find out exactly how you felt, not only about your illness, but your surroundings. So it was really one big hell of a family that was happening all through this area, and I really believe that that was the start of Medicare.
Thank you. Chairman Maniscalco, back to you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for being here, and thanks for all that you do. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Next up, I yield to Councilmember Carlson, who will be presenting the Henry B. Plant Museum a commendation for their 90th anniversary.
All right. From USF to University of Tampa, although this is not part of University of Tampa, I'm a proud alum of UT. Several of you are, or have gone there. And but in the building, you all know it's a historic building that's actually owned by the city of Tampa, and we're actually going to look at the lease later this afternoon. But inside this historic building, besides just being classrooms, there's a museum that shows us what it was like in the past. And so today we have several folks from the board. We have Hank Ennis, the president of the Board of Trustees. We have Michael Flores from the Board of Trustees, Rebecca Nagy. You'll want to wave or nod, yeah. Then we have Luis Martinez Monfort also. And then we have Lindsay Hubin, the executive director of the Plant Museum. And I think her parents are watching, so hello, Mom and Dad. Just want to go through and give you the commendation. The reason why we're doing this today is not just because they do a great job and it's a fantastic experience. Anybody who hasn't been there, you should really go. It's a great family outing. And if you can get Guido, our resident historian, to take you on a tour, that would be great too. But it happens to be their 90th anniversary of the museum. And how old's the building?
1891.
1891, yep. So Tampa City Council awards this commendation to Henry B. Plant Museum in celebration of its 90th anniversary. What began in 1933 as the Tampa Municipal Museum has transformed to an important historical preservation site in Tampa. Visitors to the museum are able to enjoy a truly immersive experience of the Victorian lifestyle of America's Gilded Age while learning about the era and Florida's early tourism industry. The community is able to interact with the museum in many ways, such as the Victorian Christmas stroll, museum live theater, music in the museum, and picnic in the park, field trips for school children, and books to school outreach. Thank you to the Henry B. Plant Museum for preserving an important piece of history that Tampeños and tourists alike can enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, council members, for this commendation. We really appreciate it. The museum really is a community center. Anyone who is not involved, I encourage to come visit. You can get all the information at plantmuseum.com. And our Victorian Christmas stroll that's mentioned right here starts the day after Thanksgiving. So I encourage you all to come see where Tampa got its start. Come visit the former Tampa Bay Hotel. So thank you to my board members for being here today. And we really appreciate this honor.
My name is Hank Ennis, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees, and thank you all for coming today. The Plant Museum is a jewel in the city of Tampa, and we're so proud of it, and we're so proud to be on the board. And wonderful artifacts and original furnishings from the hotel. It's a great place, and we're so thankful that we have that here. And the wonderful staff, and Dan as well. Y'all do such a great job. Thank you for all that you do, and we look forward to another 90 years together. Thank you.
Did you all decorate for holidays yet?
We're decorating right now.
And when will it be open?
Day after Thanksgiving.
So they have exhibits throughout the year, but this Victorian, is it that what it's called?
Yep, we have 90 trees for 90 years of the museum.
Yeah, so it's a really fantastic experience too. So if you have family in for holidays, go visit. Anybody want to say anything?
Sure. It was mentioned that some of us attended UT. I was there for just a year, and then I transferred out. I know Councilmember Miranda is a UT graduate, all right? Yep. And I know that Plant Hall and the Tampa Bay Hotel is designated or known as like one of the top 10 Victorian structures in the United States. And the museum is very special because it has recreations of what the rooms look like. And other parts. So you can get, as you mentioned, a glimpse into the past, but we're very proud of it. It's one of the symbols of Tampa are the minarets, and it's recognized all over. And one of my favorite places to go is sit on the veranda in the rocking chairs at all hours of the day and night. But yeah, it's always been a very special place, and the museum is very special again because you're preserving a part of history that I think it's one of the very few examples there as you do it. So thank you very much. Any other council members? Yes, sir.
Just wanted to thank you guys all for your work and just echoing what Councilman Maniscalco said, and thank you for Councilman Carlson for bringing this forward, and it's good to see you guys, and thank you all for your work, and especially good to see my Cuban-American brother from another mother, Luis. Good, and I'll probably see you tonight. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks again. What it stands about is 4 words about the museum in my mind: yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. In fact, it's the only thing in Tampa that's older than I am. And what it's done is that you go back and, you think you don't have anything, you think that you're not mentally, I want this, I want that. When you go back in history, you come out of it, you said, you know what, I have everything, I don't need anything else. Because you realize how people had to live then and the amenities that they had to go through. There was no air conditioner to speak of. There was very little things, amenities. You call Uber, they never showed up. And these are the things that are going on in today's society that we forget. We try to make life complicated when it really shouldn't be, and that's how life is. But thank you all for what you've done for 90 years and many more years to come. Congratulations.
And is it true that it's the oldest elevator in Tampa, the first in Tampa in the building?
It is the first elevator in Tampa, and it does still work.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You want to say your website?
I did.
You did, okay. All right.
All right, at this time, we'll go to public comment. We have 1 registered speaker. We'll begin with the registered speaker, and then we'll go in person. Okay, all right, so we do not have the registered speaker. We'll go to in-person public comment. If you wish to speak, please come up, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Connie Burton. I'm glad the students, the young people from USF is here this morning, because if these are our future leaders, they must know they cannot behave in the way in which we see our present leaders behaving. 2020, you, as the chairman of the council then, signed a resolution 568 saying that you understood, this body understood the ongoing social injustice that exists in the Black community. You say the African American community. You say years of mistrust, policies had led to discrimination against that community. And I'm not talking about 1820. I'm saying that when you signed it, it was in 2020. What have you done to restore that? 2 weeks ago, we had people here talking about the issue in Ybor City. Less than 2 weeks, we have had a young man, 17 years old, shot in the back of his head on 37th and Emma. How do this reflect that you understand anything or trying to restore social and economic injustice in our community? Dr. King said that riots was the voice of the unheard. When we see our young people misbehaving, can't see a future for themselves, interacting in destructive behavior, what you think that is? When will this city, starting with the mayor, then following to you, address these issues? 2 days ago, Fox 13 did an article of some old reels they found, talking about the riots of the 60s. And immediately, you know what the city did? They came out under the programs of African American men and said, you know what, these young men need jobs. They called them the white hat. You know what it did? It quelled the violence in our community, because we was beyond just talking about the issues, we was addressing the issues. And so I know you pull dollars toward programs, but evaluate them. Are they working? Senseless violence. We used to talk about the life expectancy of young Black men might have been 30. I don't think they're getting out their 20s.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Mantesnot, Tampa, Florida. I want to say huru. Huru means freedom in Swahili. And one thing we have to know and understand, white people have a certain kind of hatred for black skin. White people have a certain kind of hatred for black self-determination. And capitalism, you know, you're in a government facility, and no one talks about capitalism, no one talks about socialism, no one talks about reparations. 623 years of slavery, and no one talks about reparations. And when people try to speak out, they call it thug life, bad behavior. When the kids shoot up the school, they say, hey, they're like mental, they're not revolting. It's not revolution. It's not like when they threw the tea in Boston Harbor. They're not revolting. It's because your government don't listen to you. And your government don't care about you, especially if you're African. If you're African, they don't give one F about you. Nothing. 2 weeks ago, they down here all hyped up about a young man that was murdered in Ybor City. 2 weeks later, a young man's murdered on Emma Street, 3700 block, and still nobody knows his name. Nobody knows his name. And guess what? Under gentrification, he wasn't even murdered in East Tampa. He was murdered in Rainbow Heights. Where in the hell is Rainbow Heights? That's gentrification at its best. That's assimilation and ethnic cleansing at its best. Government have to remain silent on anything oppressive happen to the people. And you can see it play out now in an international level, in your face. You got white people in people hospitals, bombing people hospitals. It's the height of barbarism. They're bombing hospitals in Palestine and occupied Palestine and calling it Israel. It's the same way they say they have a war on drugs and a war on crime. But somehow the victims of these wars never know that they're involved in a war. 400,000 bicycle stops, a war on bicycles in Tampa, Florida, and the black people never knew we were at war with the police. And no prisoners of war. They haven't showed you one Hamas soldier that they've taken capture. And they set up a situation to do just what they're doing. They provoke the people and oppress them, and they do what they do. And it's the same thing going on right here in Tampa, Florida. And that have to change. This city government have to change it. It's as close as we're getting to changing it, and it have to change.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Thursday. And I would just like to say,
Please state your
the
name,
Lord
ma'am.
my name is Sally Issy Lee with the Volunteer Missionary Society Penny Fund. And I would just like to say, God is with us, and today, my whole spirit is on pause. I went to see my Tampa Housing Authority and meet all my landlords yesterday. And I would like to say thank you to Miss Connie. She introduced me to the CRA when I moved here from Riverview back to Tampa. And I've always given her respect, speaking her mind. But today my mind is and body is on pause, because I've been praying all night that the war between Ukraine, Palestine, Israel will stop. And when you fast, you just be tired. I had my whole speech laid out, but I don't think this is the day. I'm not going to stay long. I'm really tired, up all night, fasting and praying. And then I think that everybody should just take a pause after the holiday and go to Hand and Stone or either a masseuse and take a laxative and just relax and just pause and think about what, yes, sister, pray, and think about how we're going to be included next year, and that we really need unity. We don't need no more wars and fights and hates and Oh, that just drains me, I tell you. And I want to see city council and everybody include us, small business and melanin colored people, you know, just reach out and let's stop all this hating and compromise and just relax. And I'm going to have to leave y'all now. I'm really tired and I've been fasting for days. But one thing I do want to say on the 3 o'clock news, I have been praying and fasting all that week. I'm almost through, sir. And somebody found the nuclear warhead meant for America, and they unplugged it. You never would know about our 4 minutes. We're asking everybody to just pray for 4 minutes, that's all, and give God some thanks just for the next day in our life. Because we don't know what everything is coming to, and all we can do is pray and ask to be included.
Thank you
And I can win if everybody include me as equal. Thank you very much, and y'all have a happy holiday, because I won't be back probably till next month or the first of the year.
Thank you very much.
But thank you all very much.
Yes, ma'am. Next speaker, please state your name.
Good morning, Council. My name is Julie McGill.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm coming to talk to you about the City of Tampa Code Enforcement. There's a team that was put together by J.C. Hutchinson, who is the head of construction services, put in place by Mayor Castor, and he started a team called the CACT team, which is the Construction Activities Compliance Team. However, they have been wreaking havoc on the City of Tampa. They decided to trespass without a warrant onto private property to take pictures of back doors and windows that they think are not in compliance. They're targeting new homeowners, new home listings. It's affecting the real estate community. They're comparing Zillow photos with historical photos and deciding that the interior remodel that you just did is against, it's a violation, and they'll come in and put a tag on it. They're holding up closings. It's a total disaster. I'm a general contractor, and when they come in to inspect, like let's say I call a plumbing inspection. They'll come in and look at the plumbing for a second, and then they'll start peeling the onion in the house and finding everything else that they don't like and citing you for that. They're costing homeowners thousands of dollars. I have a group behind me. Could you please raise your hands if you're here for code enforcement issues? Yeah, and there's about 100 plus besides them that couldn't make it this morning. They also go about 10 years back. So let's say you just listed your house for sale and you put a roof 1 year and maybe a couple years later you put in AC, but then you put in granite and cabinets. Well, when you list that house and that real estate agent lists everything new, which they do, that's going to generate them to come right out there and put a tag on that house. It's happening every single day. I'm looking at this. I'm a contractor, so I can see the Excel system, and it's rampant. You also have different inspectors. Like you get one inspector one day and another inspector to come re-inspect, and that inspector will decide, oh, wait a minute, there's more things here. It's inconsistent, and it's causing a lot of problems. I'm going to defer the rest of my time to the rest of these people that would like to speak. We'd like to see this maybe become an agenda item on the next city council meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. We can, we're going to listen to all the public comment, but we can certainly ask for a staff report so we can get clarification on everything that you mentioned, and you know, we can discuss it further. But thank you very much.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Hi, City Council. Reverend Dr. Gabriel Morgan, St. Paul Lutheran Church. I'm not here, unfortunately, to speak about stormwater ponds or affordable housing or other things I'd rather be talking about. But unfortunately, I'm one of the homeowners who was caught up in this dragnet that Julie has been describing. I do not know the full slate of facts of the situation as Julie has compiled them, and I can't speak to them. All I can do is share my own story and my concerns based on what we experienced. When we purchased our home in 2016 in Seminole Heights to be a part of the church community, which I now pastor, it had been flipped and renovated, and we had it inspected and did our due diligence as any homeowner would. And then when we turned around to try to sell it to move into the church parsonage last year, we got cited for a list of things that initially were so shocking to us we thought it must have been a mistake of some kind. But it turns out that we are liable for it because a lot of the work had not been done properly in addition to not being properly permitted. And part of what makes it particularly hard to take is that when we dug up the records on the situation, we discovered that the organization and the individual had been caught on a not properly permitted electrical job and then had to redo it, and a city inspector was in the house and looked at it. It didn't cite them for anything else. And this bill now is going to cost us something close to $40,000 to correct everything. Now, the city magistrate understood our situation and thankfully recognized it was through no fault of our own, and they gave us some time to reconcile the permit aspect of this. But it doesn't change the fact that we're now liable for somebody else's mistakes. So my concern is especially for ordinary homeowners who, through no fault of their own, purchase a home and do their due diligence and then discover these liabilities that are too much for them to bear. And it, I think, sends a message inadvertently, and I'm going to assume that this is not intentional, but the message it sends is that only the wealthy and investors can afford the risk of owning homes in our historic neighborhoods. And to me, I don't think that's a message we want to send as a city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
It is intentional.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe so.
Please state your name.
Good morning. My name's Andrea Buford. I'm one of the homeowners. I had a driveway put in, and thank you for your time and allowing me to be able to speak today. I had a driveway put in, didn't think anything of it, thought that the people putting the driveway in would know to pull a permit if a permit was needed. That wasn't something I knew about. And then almost a year later, I had a city inspector knock on my door to let me know that they were fining me for the driveway because no permit was pulled. And then he told me to thank my neighbors because they cut down a tree without a permit, and that was the only reason why they knew about my driveway, because as he was sitting there writing them up, he looked and said, "Oh, she's got a new driveway. Did they pull a permit?" And so then that was how I ended up. And some of the language used in my issue was that there must have been something wrong on the outside of my property or causing potential damage to the public. It was a driveway. So I'm not real clear on what damage I could have caused to the public, but it cost me thousands of dollars to fix what the city said I needed in addition to the driveway, because the driveway needed extra stuff that it didn't really actually need. I'm a single mother, and it was just difficult as a new homeowner. So something to consider for our residents in the city of Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Burke Valanovich. I'm an over-the-road truck driver, so I drive across the entire United States, but I live here in Tampa. I recently bought a house here in Tampa, so which I could park my truck on, and I found out that code 27-283.11b prohibits me to park a commercial vehicle on my own property. Tampa has very limited parking for trucks, and this was a problem when I found out, and I bought the house so I could park my truck on it. For only a limited time, I'll be out for 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks at a time and only come back for a few days up to a week. And I bought the house for that reason, and now I can't do that. So I didn't know if there was something we could do about the law, or maybe we could just have more truck parking in Tampa for commercial vehicles. That's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lena Meadowcroft, and I'm a local pastor and a real estate investor in the Tampa Bay area. I also lead more than 95 local women real estate investors who meet monthly. This has been a big topic this year of the number of horror stories shared in our group about the violations placed on the investors by the City of Tampa code enforcement. My experience, I don't have time to get into all the stories that have been shared this year, but just in my experience, I experienced unscrupulous practices by the code enforcement. I purchased a home from a family that had owned the home for 70 years. They were able to do what they want in the home for that time. The remaining heirs started to make improvements, but they found those improvements were simply too much for them to afford. The biggest improvement they needed was a roof. So I purchased the home from them so that it can be re-roofed with a permit and able to be resold through traditional measures like FHA or VA purchasers. I did cosmetic updates in this home, including removing the urine-stained and soaked carpet that was in this home. However, for 10 years before I purchased this home, The driveway was filled with massive piles of trash, a broken down boat, a busted car, an 8-foot by 8-foot plywood shed, which had 2 makeshift bunk beds inside that were being occupied by the homeless. Not only did the city not cite the homeowners during that time for the massive fire hazard that sat in plain sight on busy MLK, but it actually took my team of 4 people, 3 weeks, and 4 dumpsters to clear the mess in that property. We did secure our roofing permit. We also repainted the outside and cleaned up the home. However, 4 months later, a code enforcement employee was driving by and saw that a worker with a chop saw was cutting a piece of laminate flooring. He took it upon himself to come back the next day on June 22nd, when no one was home, walk 100 feet into the backyard and take photos of the back of the home, as well as the side of the home, and look into windows. Thank God I wasn't home taking a shower at the time, because it would have been mighty scary to see a creeper looking into the windows. Now I'm having to actually work with Julie and her company to get this all cleared up. Today's November 16th, and we are now 5 months past this stop work order, and this issue has still not been resolved. They have openly admitted in email to Julie and myself that they're simply just comparing the photos Wallace took illegally while trespassing on my property to photos taken by a Google Street View camera. Now this issue is still unresolved. Meanwhile, while Julie and the code enforcement continue to debate how to clear this up for things that they have no clear and compelling evidence that I did, I've actually had to turn down an opportunity from house hunters who wanted to come film and showcase the city of Tampa. So today I'm just asking that the council look into this and get the code enforcement department under control.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Keela McCaskill. You know, hearing some of these investors and these individuals here representing this matter, it's different from a real estate professional and housing education individual. Not long ago, you heard from your those that come out that do the inspections on behalf of the city, and you also heard from code enforcement. And I think there were many challenges previously when it was a hot market, where there were after the fact repairs that needed to be done, and they needed permits after the fact, and so it impacted what's happening. So it would be great if you would bring it back, workshop it with code enforcement and the building inspection, or the people that come out to do the permits, et cetera, because it would be an interesting conversation between realtors, those 2 bodies, and this group of people. So hopefully you will hear them. Today I'm here on a different ask, though. You know, as elected officials, I'm coming as a plea. I'm asking you to really factor something in your decision-making moving forward. During the campaign season, certain communities, particularly marginalized communities, they were competent enough to hear from you and make the decision to vote or not to vote for you. And you all made the effort to contact those individuals to make certain what you were going to do on your platform and what we could expect from you, that it would be done. You made the effort to contact those individuals. Last week, it was so disheartening. It was so disrespectful. It was so disappointing to watch. I'm not saying that any of you did anything wrong, but it was just so disappointing and so disheartening to watch you almost rubber stamp some decisions made on a marginalized community. That's a challenged community. I don't know if any of you reached out to the people that make the decisions for the community. Did you speak to them before you said yes? The staff gave you a cheerleading song and dance about how the community engagement discussions were robust, but it didn't negate the fact that they were perplexed. They didn't support. They were challenged. They were frustrated. They were not supporting some of those changes. Our owner-occupied rehab program, rubber stamp, without what they asked for. I want to ask you all, moving forward, you prepare yourselves for a different type of engagement. These people have already told you they don't trust the staff. They've already told you, while we love the new administration, we don't think the communication is as transparent as it needs to be. So I said, I feel I failed those individuals because they brought me to East Tampa to make an impact. And I don't like to fail people that often. And so I went back and said, I can't fight for you. I can fight and work with you. I ask each of them going forward to call your cell phones, call your office phones, email you all directly your challenges, your concerns, send them copies of your meetings so they hear from you. Because I think sometimes you see the same people, you think it's just those 2 or 3 people. But when you hear their meeting and you hear their discussions and their disappointment regarding the decisions, some of them mention in their district, their chair for the area, the chair of this body, or their representative hasn't even come to a meeting that represents that community. So I'm asking you, you prepare yourselves for a different type of an engagement and engage with these marginalized communities differently. Make the effort like you do when you're running for office after you've run for office and won your seats. Make that type of effort moving forward. Thank you all so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. First of all, I'm already very happy with On Base. There's some issues with it, but I'm happy with the new program. And everybody needs to do a little bit better job of advertising where the new agendas are for City Council, because I've answered at least a half a dozen inquiries about it in the last week. But I love the one pager at the beginning. That sure does clear things up. Number 68, the mobility draft study. I've yet to see it come before council. It was in the paper. It was leaked to the press, but it has yet to come before council. And today, they're asking for it to be continued, even though they've had it since August. Now, in that little report, it's not a very big report, it's just like 25 or 30 pages, but it's very important to point out that we, as a city, are charging $1,700 for certain paving stuff, the same exact price that we charged in 1989. That's number 68 on the agenda, folks. If we had increased it with inflation, it would be $4,400, but we'd like to point out that the county is charging $9,000 for what the city is letting them go home with the rest of the money in their pocket from $1,700. Micro-mobility on number 44. Why is that money not going directly into paving and to sidewalks? That's micro-mobility. That's where it's used. That's what it should be used for. If we are taking home a profit, it should not be going into the CIT fund. The CIT fund is a spending fund. Let's put it where it should be, which is in paving and sidewalks. Everybody in the city of Tampa, every meeting we go to complains that they don't have enough sidewalks and they don't have enough safe roads to drive on. These folks back here, it's kind of funny because they're telling you something that the tree people have been complaining about for years. That the people who actually purchase something and actually are the homeowners, they're being fined and they are being punished for something that a contractor did or did not do. That's not okay, because the contractor is the person who's the expert. When I call somebody on the phone to come cut my trees, I expect them to follow city code. I shouldn't be fined for it. They should be. And these folks have an issue with it. And everybody here has been to the American Legion and saw where code enforcement has been on Legion property and issued a code violation when they were not standing outside the property. Economic development. I want to make sure we are getting the most bang for our buck. I did 15 minutes worth of work. I sent it to you guys this weekend. In the 15 minutes worth of work, I saw that it generated 331 jobs. Did they actually produce those jobs? I'd like to see some justification of what they did, because there was nothing attached to the report where they want to give $538,000 of our funds to the EDC. So please take that into consideration. Oh, and read Ivan about Rodriguez's gun action plan. He sent it to you yesterday. It's ingenious.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Jason Pappy. I was one of the affected homeowners, also victims of the code enforcement issue that was spoken about previously. I was affected originally by this beginning of 2022 on 2 personal properties of my own. We worked through dealing with the code violations, assuming there was no scrupulous activity going on, with no knowledge of anything anyone else was encountering like what we were encountering, corrected the issues just as those 2 houses were up to code. Not long after, I found out that there were code violations being filed in my name. There was actually a Tampa Bay Times article written recently about my experience with the city of Tampa and their code enforcement issue. There were 93 complaints filed in my personal name with a fraudulent email used throughout the entire time. I brought this to the attention of the department in November, just before Thanksgiving break. It was shuffled to the side. I was being told at the time that these code complaints were being filed in my name at a rate of 3 to 7 per week for multiple months. Going into Thanksgiving break, reached out, drove to the code compliance office to try to speak to someone to stop the activity. It did not stop. I, rest assured, put it to the side for a bit longer, hoping that it would maybe clear, thinking it was a mistake. Followed up with it in January of 2023 after receiving numerous calls from upset and angry contractors, assuming that I was the one making these complaints. It wasn't until the end of March when I brought the issue up again with the city that they decided to discontinue filing complaints in my name. I think that the activity that went on, I don't know who to blame or where to blame it, but it seems like it is a flawed system. It seems like anyone's able to just file a complaint on their neighbor and say it was Joe Schmo, use any kind of fraudulent, fraudulent email. It sets a bad example for how the system should work. And if someone's willing and able to make a complaint on their neighbor or anyone in the community that they think is in an unsafe position with their home due to unpermitted work, then they need to come forward and be screened through a process that makes a lot more sense. And that's the point of me being up here today, is just to bring this to the attention of the city, and hopefully no one else is affected by this in the future, at least to this degree. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Yes.
We have a rule that we're not supposed to talk during public comment, but I just have to say, because I can't talk to my colleagues, I've tried to help indirectly, Mr. Pappy, for months, and the city hasn't done anything about it. And I wanted to ask you, have you filed a TPD report on this? Because somebody should be criminally charged for this. I don't know whether it was a staff member or somebody on the outside, but there are fraudulent code enforcement cases that we've seen, and my office has reported them to TPD, but I think in this case you would have to do that. Have you done that?
I've been told multiple different things. I actually spoke with a detective. I was referred by the code enforcement office to speak with a particular detective. I was told early on when I had this issue via email that this particular detective would be overseeing emails and overseeing this process. When I found out that these complaints never stopped, I called and spoke with him. He had never heard of the issue, never been brought to his attention. He had in fact actually said that that wasn't even his department. He advised me not to file a complaint with the city of Tampa, with Tampa PD.
City council has no authority over TPD, but you can file a complaint yourself.
Sure.
But if it's somebody outside, then TPD can see if they've committed a crime and press charges against them. If it's employees, they should not only have charges pressed against them, but the administration should fire them immediately and also inform city council. And I hope city council will watch this, because this is, if there's fraud within the city, we need to stop it right away. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
If my aide is listening, Tim, can you come out and get this gentleman's contact information so we can follow up on it as well? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is David Parathundel. I'm a real estate broker in Tampa. I'm also, with the permit violations, that issue. I moved to Tampa with a dream, to start real estate, to be an investor, and it took me a year to find a house because the interest rates, everything was crazy back then. And as soon as I got the house, I'm a 21-year-old. I got the house when I was 20, and then I come to know there's permit violations on it. And it doesn't take just 2 months, a couple contractors, a couple inspections. It takes months. It took $20,000, which is very hard for a young person to come up with. And they kept them picking apart every single piece of the house. Once this thing was fixed, another inspector comes. And I'm talking about, there was a porch that was enclosed in 1950 that I had to get permitted. And it was enclosed in 1950, a whole 50 years before I was even born. So it just accumulated, and I had to basically permit the whole house again. And it's really tough for homeowners, just the common people, to pay that for the time. I used to have a W-2 job then, and I was leaving work early. I was going during my lunch breaks just to meet with contractors so they can go over the house, drop the designs, get the architect, and it's very tough with a 9 to 5 schedule to deal with all these issues. So if you guys can, please help fix the fraud in the code department and help these homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is John Salem. I'm also here about the code violation, code enforcement issues. I got caught up in the, Jason Pappy mentioned that he had 90-something complaints that were fraudulent in his name. And guess what? I'm one of those fraudulent complaints. And I got a sticker on my house out of nowhere. And I've been trying to resolve the code enforcement issues since January. So far, I've spent $8,600 trying to satisfy the code enforcement request for drawings. It started with a $400 draftsman drawing, which was no problem. Then they requested a letter from an engineer. So there's $2,000 for the letter to the engineer. Then they wanted, that was called a covered work letter. Then they wanted drawings from an architect. So $2,000 for architectural drawings. Then they said to the contractor, Julie, that something structural was done to the front door. Julie explained to them what was done to the front door. It was not structural, and she also had that done in the covered letter, and they made her go back to the architect and have the drawings done again to assure them that nothing structural was done, and she did that. This all cost more money, and they are still saying, when we ask them why they aren't issuing the permit, which we're willing to pay the permit fees in, backwards for, and get this over with, they're not issuing the permit because they think something structural was done to the front door. What do? You give them a covered work letter, you pay $2,000 for that. You give them the architectural drawings, you pay $2,000 for that. This just goes on and on. Now they want a site plan. They still haven't said what's wrong. So a site plan is going to be somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000. It took me months and an attorney to get them to say what they want in the site plan, because everyone I call about a site plan says, well, you better find specifically what they want. So we find out what they want, and the site plan companies say, so what are you changing on the property? I'm like, nothing. They said, well, a site plan is for a before and after. If you're going to change the footprint, you get a site plan. Why isn't a survey good enough? I said, I don't know. I gave them a survey. They have the survey. They say, well, this is confusing. They want us to do a site plan, but there's no before and after. And they want elevations. So Julie goes to them and says, why do you need elevations? They say, because the drainage of the pavers that you put in. Well, the pavers were done on crush, so there is no drainage problem, and the pavers are part of the front porch walkway so that we can have a nice walkway to get to the front porch.
Thank you very much, sir.
So this is going on and on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good
Good
morning.
morning, council.
Good morning.
Robin Lockett. Earlier, there was a conversation in regards to a young man, young man that got killed, right? A couple of weeks ago, it was identified that a murder happened in Ybor City, and there was a big rally. There's something going on in the community, in communities, in Tampa. But how do we resolve it? How do we put effort towards resolving or finding a resolution for it, right? That's a big question. I don't even know how to do it. But my concern is that the urgency that occurred in Ybor City is not happening everywhere else. That's my concern. There's business owners that came out to speak and state their case. But what's happening to show the urgency in the communities? Kids are standing on the street and drive-bys are happening. When I sat here, when those business owners came out, it was like, everybody wanted to know something. But when you hear and you see in the news, and it's now being reported all the time in these different areas where kids are getting killed on the street, just standing, not knowing whether, what they're doing, but they're standing there. 17-year-old kid, and I saw how upset Connie was. That's why I went outside, because I saw she was angry. 17-year-old kid getting shot in the head, the back of the head. So I don't know what the answer is, right? But mental health. Those kids that went to school with him, I'm not sure if that's being happening. The community, is there an urgency? They're having a meeting for Ybor City on the corner at that location on 7th Avenue. Where's the outcry? Where's the urgency? Code enforcement. Darn, at one time you can't get code enforcement to do anything, and now they're doing a whole lot, right? There has to be something done, because there's a lot of fraudulent. If I remember correctly, processes changed when no one could call in anonymously, right? You had to give somebody a name. Now, what's the safety mechanism? So if I understand the gentleman correctly, what's the safety mechanism to not have somebody call in a fraudulent call with your name on it? Right? Is it against the law? Is it in the ordinance or the change of the policy that if somebody reports something, it is against the law and you found out it's a misdemeanor or something, right? Because people are not brave enough to put their name on things when they report things. So it's a lot of, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anybody else here for public comment? That concludes public comment. All right, at this time, item number 5 has been continued to December 21st, so at this time, we will go to item number 6. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Michelle Van Loan Real Estate. Item number 6 is for the honorary naming for Ms. Sandra De Diego Sanchez. We had the presentation a couple of meetings ago. We have received 24 public comments on this submission, and all 24 were supportive. And again, this is renaming the dog park at the Villa Brothers Park in honor of the work that Ms. De Diego Sanchez did in her leadership with Armory Gardens for the improvements, both funding and time of her and the civic group for the improvement and support of that park. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? Mr. Shelby, do we ask for public comment regarding this since it's a first reading?
No.
No?
It's a legislative matter.
Okay.
It's going to come back for the public hearing.
Okay, any comments or questions from council members?
Read
Councilmember
by
Miranda, would you like to read item number 6?
Item number 6, file number HS23-987, order being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance in the city of Tampa, Florida, approving the naming of dog park at Villa Brothers Park in Tampa, Florida, to honor Sandra De Diego Sanchez, providing an effective date.
Do we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Second reading and adoption will be held on December 7th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. Item number 7. Yes, sir. Mr. Brody.
Morning, Council. Carl Brody, Legal Department. Item number 7 is brought to you as first reading in order to update the cemeteries ordinance. We need to update the Memorial Cemetery, which was purchased by the city back in the spring, and also the Pyramid Crypts Cemetery, which was received from Hillsborough County by quitclaim deed. So the ordinance updates those two as being city cemeteries, and also updates some language to be in compliance with the ADA to allow service animals to accompany persons who are visiting the cemetery. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Do we have any questions or comments from council members? Thank you very much, sir. Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading item number 7?
Sure, with pleasure. Move an ordinance presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending and restating Chapter 8, City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, Cemeteries, providing for the addition of Memorial Park Cemetery and Pyramid Crypts Cemetery, allowing service animals on the cemetery ground, providing access times to city cemeteries, providing additional rules and standards for use of and access to city cemeteries, providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, ma'am.
Second reading and adoption will be held on December 7th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to committee reports. The first one is Public Safety Committee with Councilmember Vieira, items 8 through 18.
So move 8 through 18.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, next up, we have Councilmember Hurtak, the Vice Chair of Parks and Rec, items 19 through 25.
Yes, I move items 19 through 25.
All right, we have a motion
Second.
from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Hurtak, Public Works.
Yes, I am going to ask for approval of the shortest Public Works Committee numbers that we've had in a long time.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is Finance Committee, Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move items 30 to 38.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Building and Zoning is Councilmember Carlson, 39 through 43.
Yes, I'll move 39 through 43, and I should say 43 includes a grant to University of Tampa Plant Hall, which is
Second.
Very good. Councilmember Carlson with the motion, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Clendenin, per request, item number 44 will be a separate vote. So would you mind moving 45, 6, and 7?
I move items 45, 46, and 47.
We have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This is now item number 44 for a separate vote. Councilmember Clendenin, would you like to move that?
Yes, I move items 44.
We have a motion from Councilmember
Second.
Clendenin. We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. Let's get a roll call vote. You said no discussion.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Carlson,
No.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Clendenin,
Yes.
and Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson voting no and Henderson being absent.
All right, we need a motion setting a public hearing for November 30th, 2023 at 5:01 PM at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa,
Second.
Florida, 33602 for
Move
item
item.
48. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to open actually, all public hearings?
Move,
Motion
Mr.
from
Chairman, open
Councilmember
all public
Clendenin,
hearings,
second from
49
Councilmember
through
Miranda.
54. And,
Yes.
and 55 through 58.
Yes, sir. All in favor?
All of them.
Aye. All public hearings are
Yeah,
open
all of
because it is 10:20 past 10. I'm sorry, it's past 10 o'clock, so we're good. Are these, okay, well, if anybody is going to be speaking on any of the public hearings, please stand, raise your right hand, and we'll swear you in. If you're going to be speaking on any of the public hearings.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to provide is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, item number 49. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, this is Michelle Van Loan Real Estate. This is the second reading for the honorary street renaming for Mr. Alessi at the northeast corner of Cypress and Paddock, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions or comments? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 49? Yes, sir?
Steve
State your name.
Michelini, the only comment is to be thankful to the city council for taking this action and the city staff. The gentleman has contributed so much to this community, and it's nice that he's being recognized. Thank you.
And thank you to the Alessi family for serving the community since 1912. 1912. Anybody else? All right, may I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, would you like to read 49?
I move file number HS 23-84489, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, approving the placement of an honorary street naming sign at the intersection of West Cypress Street and North Paddock Street in Tampa, Florida, to honor Phil Alessi Sr., providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilman Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Hurtak being absent at vote and Henderson being absent.
All right, yes, ma'am. Item number 50.
Michelle Van Loan Real Estate. Item number 50 is the second reading of an honorary street renaming at Cypress and Albany in honor of Dr. Walter Smith Sr. And we do have Walter Smith Jr. Today that would like to say a few words.
Are you Mr. Smith or Dr. Smith? Are you a PhD like your dad? Or no?
Working on it.
All right. Because somebody said the other day, doctor, I go, wait a minute, I know the father, but yes, sir, please state your name.
Walter L. Smith II. I am very, very glad to stand before you today to receive this honor. You know, I'm getting to the point now where I'm not crying when I talk about my father. We're very close. But I will say this. I was there when I heard his last heartbeat. And to see that this is happening now, to hear the respect that everybody is paying to him at this moment means a lot. I wish that he was here. But for it to happen, it's like hearing his heartbeat all over again. He loved the city of Tampa. He loved the state of Florida. And he was a citizen of the world. He fought for education and rights for people all over the world, building colleges, providing education opportunities, building the first community college system in the Republic of South Africa, you know, during the time of apartheid, all the way through to the democracy, the first democratic elections of the country. To fight through Jim Crow and to build universities and colleges here in these lands, domestically, means everything. But for him to come home and to put this library that he put on the corner of Albany and Cypress means everything to the people here in the city that he loves so much. And so I thank you, each and every one of you, and all those people who supported this effort for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And your father is here. His legacy lives through you and your family, which we are very proud of all their contributions, everything that you do, you've done, and your father, who I think most of us or all of us had the pleasure of meeting. I remember my last encounter with your father right before COVID. And it was over at Riverfront Park, Julian Lane, on one afternoon. But I had the honor of meeting this legendary figure that is so well respected, just as you and your family are. So I'm really happy that this is happening. Any other council members? Anybody? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know how much respect I have for you and your family, and congratulations for the honor, and it's well deserved. And this is exactly, you know, your family and the contributions for the communities. Some of the previous people in public comment talked about issues that we have in our community. It's folks like you and your family and your father and your mother and everyone else that make a difference. And really, if we have more of the Smith family, perhaps we'd have less of the problems that we have. Thank you.
Councilman Vieira, Councilmember Carlson.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and you know, when you're talking about getting emotional about, you know, being able to talk about your late dad without getting teary-eyed, that's about as touching as you can get. You know, he was a great father to you, and you're a great father yourself. And you know, his legacy always lives within you. And here in Tampa, he was just an amazing guy. He was a Korean War era veteran of our military. He was a scholar, an academic, a fighter for human rights. I remember when I was at Boston with my family, you were like, hey, go to Roxbury, where, you know, the college there, where my dad, you know, his influence was just everywhere. I remember I hadn't really gotten a chance to really get to know him until we worked together on the Equal Justice Initiative racial lynching marker, and he was involved in that and had such a great interest in it for, many, many reasons, including his love of ignored American history. And he was just a real great guy. And it's important here in Tampa that we pay tribute to our heroes. And your father was certainly one of them. So thank you for coming, Walter, here and just sharing from your heart. We really appreciate it.
Carlson, Miranda.
Yeah, and I've said this in the other hearings, but in case anybody hasn't had it, he also was a giant in international issues, setting up and modifying university systems in Africa, including working with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. And so I'm so happy and thankful that we're honoring him and your family. Where's Walter III, though?
He is in class.
So you've already accomplished a lot, but I look forward to getting to know Walter III more, because you could tell by the speech he gave a few weeks ago, he's going to do amazing things too. So let's make sure that we all surround him, and with that bloodline, there's a lot of things that can be done in our community. So look forward to seeing what Junior and 3 and maybe 4th in the future do. Thank you.
Councilmember Miranda, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smith, thank you very much for recognizing what happened. When you do things like your father did one at a time, then I really recognize it, the period that he did them, because he did so many of them, so many different periods. It's not after when you're deceased that says he did what? All of these things come up like like reading a book, not one page at a time, but the whole book. So that's what your father's done. He did a book, one item at a time. And you don't recognize that, unfortunately, for all of us, until you're not here any longer. So congratulations to you and what you're doing for yourself and for your family and keeping your father's name alive. And that's what it's all about, my friend. Thank you very much for what you've done.
Councilmember Hurtak.
I did not have the honor of meeting your father, but I feel like I know him through you, and he left the best legacy. Not only did he do all of those things, he raised you to continue his legacy. And it's very clear that you have taken his lessons and really internalized them to continue the work. And obviously from your son and his presentation a month or so ago, you are doing the exact same thing for your son. And that's really what it's all about. So I think this is such a wonderful tribute, but the tribute is really you and your son and your family, and the continuing to the passion. And so I just want to say thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Is there anybody else? No? We'll have a motion to close. So motion
Second.
to close from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilwoman Hurtak, would you do the honors of reading item number 50?
Yes. Sorry. File number HS 23-84490. Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, approving the placement of an honorary street naming sign at the intersection of North Albany Street and West Cypress Street in Tampa, Florida, to honor Dr. Walter Smith Sr., providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, sir. Item number 51.
Michelle Van Loan for the last time. Today, we have the second reading on the J. Clifford McDonald honorary street naming at Rio Street at the intersection in front of the McDonald Training Center. And we do have Ms. Karen Levy, who is the CEO of the McDonald Training Center, here for a few words.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, members of City Council. How are you all doing today? Good. So last night, we actually celebrated our 70th anniversary. So 70 years of McDonald Training Center in the Tampa Bay area. And what I can tell you is it is a great honor to be here today. And we thank you very much for recognizing the contributions of J. Clifford McDonald. So J. Clifford McDonald was a man who dreamed big. He was a man who understood the need to be inclusive and to create a sense of belonging in our community for people with disabilities. He was a man of hope and a man of community. And so today, we are so grateful that you honor and recognize all of his contributions. Not only was he able to change the life of his own child, but he was able to transform the life of thousands of people in the Tampa Bay area. But he also elevated the national consciousness of what people could do if they are given the opportunity, and if they're given the options, and if their families have hope. And so for that, we are grateful. We are grateful to be here, and we are so grateful for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 51? I see no one. Any council members? Yes, sir, Councilman Clendenin.
You know, I've stated it in prior discussions on this issue in front of council. My brother-in-law was a client at McDonald Training Center. And I think, when you talked about Clifford McDonald and Inspiring Hope, I think that really also aligned with purpose. Because my brother-in-law was injured as a child and had to suffer with a lifelong disability, has subsequently passed in just a few years ago. But it was transformational for his life and also, as you addressed, the family's life. So to be able to participate in that type of a program was just enormously helpful and really did change my family and their lives. So thank you all for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vieira.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you guys, Karen and Phyllis, for being here. Did you want to say anything, Phyllis, or?
No.
You sure? Okay, there you go,
President
just making
said
sure. But, I obviously, I love McDonald's Training Center to death. My brother's a client, and, I've said this before, that imagine the America where J. Clifford McDonald, had his dream 70 years ago. The late Justice Thurgood Marshall once said, I forgot the case, he wrote this in, but that the treatment of the intellectually disabled is not unlike the treatment of individuals in Jim Crow in terms of the cruelty, the separate but unequal, the visceral hatred, the disrespect, and just a total lack of dignity that has happened throughout our years. And that's the America that J. Clifford McDonald stood up in and said, hell no, it's my son, I love him to death, don't give a damn what anybody else says, and I'm gonna fight for him. And that's what y'all are about.
Yes.
So I love y'all to death. Y'all are part of just some great organizations here, ranging from Best Buddies, Special Olympics, you guys, and so many others, in organizations that I grew up with. Just knowing y'all's name to my family was like the Methodist Church or something, just a great establishment for dignity. And so I love you guys to death, and I'm so proud of the work that you guys do. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you very much. You said 50 years ago, and I remember about that time that West Tampa Sharif Association was one of the first ones to coordinate and have fundraising for you folks. That was 50 years ago, like what you're talking about now. And they did that because they saw the need of Mr. McDonald, what he was doing, and always associated with helping someone who's in need. And I want to thank you, all of you, your current members of West Tampa Sharif, as I know right now, it's no longer organized. Some of the members are still here, but the organization is not faded away. They just got to the point that they couldn't do it anymore. So these are the things that I remember living in West Tampa for many years. And the association that we had with your club and what you do now, I think you make all the little cards for one of the big departments in Tallahassee. And the mechanisms, and I've seen them work. I haven't been there in years, but I remember going to the backside and seeing how they did all those cards, and the enhancement that gives somebody an opportunity to do something, and they all enjoy it, and they do a fantastic job, everyone there. Thank you very much for what you all do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, may I have a motion to close? So moved.
Second.
Motion to close from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Miranda, all in favor? Aye. Councilmember Carlson, would you mind reading 51?
Yes, I'd like to move number 51, file number HS23-84492, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, approving the placement of an honorary street naming sign at the intersection of West Cypress Street and North Rio Street in Tampa, Florida, to honor J. Clifford McDonald, providing effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Hurtak. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would ask that we slow down our speed on this agenda so we can be here all day. I'd hate to leave here early today, so just a request. I'm kidding. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to mention that I was absent for items number 52 and 58 for the first readings. I have gone through and done the research, so I am prepared to vote on these issues.
Very good. Item number 52. Item number 52, yes, sir.
Good morning, Evan Johnson, City Planning Department. We actually have Danny Collins here. These are second readings on plan amendments to do a little short presentation and answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Danny Collins, yes, sir.
Good morning, Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. Item 52 is for TACPA 2301. There's an amendment to update the mobility element to the comprehensive plan. This item was approved for adoption at first reading on October 26th and is back before you for second reading consideration today. And this concludes my presentation.
Any questions? Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 52? We have nobody registered. Motion to close?
So moved.
Motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilman Clendenin with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, item number 52, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 52, TACPA/23/01. Ordinance being presented for second reading adoption. An ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan to delete the mobility section in its entirety and create a new mobility section to update, modernize the mobility-related language and maps to include multimodal options, economic vitality, sustainability, resiliency, and health equity and safety, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Vera being absent and vote and Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Item number 53. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Again, Evan Johnson, City Planning. I believe Mr. Collins will be making a presentation on this one and 54 as well.
Very good. Mr. Collins, go ahead, sir, for 53.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. I was sworn in. This item 53 is for TACPA 2311. It's an amendment updating the environmental element to the comprehensive plan. This item was approved for adoption at first reading on October 26th and is back before you for second reading consideration. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions or comments? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 53? There's no one registered. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, 53.
I move file number TACPA 2311, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan to delete the environmental section in its entirety and create a new environmental and sustainability section to update, modernize, and provide a framework for conserving, using, and protecting natural resources, wetlands, lakes, soil conservation, urban forest, Hillsborough River, and alternate energy, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Vera being absent and vote and Henderson being absent.
Very good. Item number 54. Yes, sir. Mr. Collins, if you're on the line for 54, if you have anything to add. Sir?
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Item 54 is TACPA 2315. It's an amendment to allow additional flexibility for lands located near environmental sensitive areas in the West Shore Planning District. This amendment was approved for adoption at first reading on October 26th, and it's back before you for second reading consideration. That concludes my presentation. Available for any questions.
Any questions or comments for 54? No? Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 54? There's nobody registered. May I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Hurtak, 54.
Yes, file number TACPA 23-15, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, to update the density or intensity credit language for projects where environmentally sensitive areas, ESA, exceed 20% of the total project acreage, providing for a repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Item number 55, these are our quasi-judicial public hearings. I know I asked for folks to be sworn in, but if you were not sworn in and walked in after I asked, please stand up and be sworn in, but I don't think I saw any new faces since then, so, very good. Please proceed for 55.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 55 is a second reading. This is for AB 2309. This is a request for alcoholic beverage sales, a small venue category with consumption on premise only, and this is for beer, wine, and liquor. This is for the property located at 1611 North Howard Avenue. And again, this is before you for second reading. The revisions have been made to the site plan, and the site plan has been certified and provided to the clerk.
Thank
I'm
you very
available if
much.
you have any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Any questions or comments? No? Applicant? Yes, sir, please state your name.
Steve Michelini, I wanted to thank the council for reestablishing the 4th of July Cafe as an effective and a reinvigorated location. Would respectfully request your approval, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Any comments? Wait, do we have anybody here for public comment on item 55? Yeah, we're going too quick. I want to enjoy my whole Thursday here. All right, motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlson, 55.
Yes, I'd like to move file, number 55, file number AB 2-23-09. An ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1611 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Item
you,
number
Council.
58. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, item 56. This is.
I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses. I never wear them, and I should wear them, but yes, 56.
That's okay. Thank you so much, Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 56 is AB 2-2314. This request is for alcoholic beverage sales. This is a small venue category for consumption on premise, and package sales, consumption off premise. This is for beer, wine, liquor, and this is at the property located at 811 North Tampa Street. Site plan modifications were required and made. Those site plans have been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions? No. Applicant, 56. Please state your name.
Steve Michelini, I'm here to answer any questions you might have, and we respectfully request your approval.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 56? We have a motion to
Second.
close. Nobody is registered. Online motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 56, AB 2/23/14. An ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales, off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 811 North Tampa Street, as more particularly described in section 2, providing for all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much, sir. Item number 57.
Thank you, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock, Development Coordination. Item 57 is AB 2/2321. This is for an alcoholic beverage sales request, a small venue category with a consumption on premise and package sales for consumption off premise. And this is for beer and wine. This is at the property located at 1018 Cass Street. This item is before you this morning for second reading. Site plan modifications were required. Those modifications have been made. The plan is certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? All right, do we have an applicant for item number 57? Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item 57?
Second.
No? Nobody is registered. We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading 57?
Sure.
Move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance approving special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1018 East Cass Street, Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
Thank you very much. Item number 58.
Yes, thank you, Council. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. Item 58 is for AB 22324. This request is for alcoholic beverage sales, a small venue category with consumption on premise and package sales consumption off premise, and this is for beer and wine. The property is located at 1313 East 8th Avenue, and site plan modifications were required and have been made. The site plan has been certified and provided to the clerk. I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Do we have an applicant here for item number 58?
Those are closed.
Anybody here for public comment? Okay. Councilmember Clendenin with the motion to close. Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, please read 58.
I move file number AB 22324, an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premise, and package sales off premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1313 East 8th Avenue, first floor only, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Motion from Councilmember Clendenin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Vieira. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
All right. We have a petition for review. Item number 59. Yes, ma'am. And everybody's been sworn in. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Kamaria Pettis-Malcolm from the Legal Department. Item number 59 is file number SUB 23-16, which is a review hearing on a petition for review filed by Mr. Bentley. He is the authorized agent asking for a review hearing of a decision by staff regarding SUB 23-16 for the property located at 510 North Rome Avenue. Mr. Bentley filed a request to make proposed changes to REZ 21-1. And staff determined, based upon Code Section 27138 of the City of Tampa Code, that it does not meet the criteria for a non-substantial change. I provided City Council members in their packet the relevant code sections, which is 27-138 subsection 7, 27 which is the review procedure for a substantial change application, 27-61 subsection J3, which is the review hearing criteria for City Council to use, and also code section 27-284.3.2, which is the tree planting requirements. I've also provided sample motions and the rules of procedure for City Council to use in order to conduct this review hearing. As previously stated in Code Section 27-61, subsection J3, City Council shall conduct a de novo review hearing, which means City Council can accept new evidence, take public testimony, and make a decision whether or not the applicant meets the criteria or does not meet the criteria of 27-138 subsection 7. Staff is present to give an overview of the requests made of staff and the basis of staff's decision. Upon hearing all the evidence in this matter, City Council can affirm the decision of the staff and therefore deny the request to make the changes to REZ-21-1, or City Council can overturn the decision of staff and thereby approve the proposed changes for rezoning REZ 21-1. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Dock for the presentation of the application and staff's decision.
All right. Do we have any ex parte communication that we need to receive and file? Huh? All right. Let's motion to receive and file any ex parte communication. Can I have a motion? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination, and I do have a presentation.
Yes.
That's
It's going to come up
We can
now.
bring that up, and I can go over that with you. Okay, thank you so much. And so this is a substantial change review appeal. This is for file SUB 2316. So the request was made by the applicant, Mark Bentley. The request is for the property located at 510 North Rome Avenue. So just briefly, just to review the substantial change review option that is available in the code. If you have a PD rezoning that has been approved, sometimes there are modifications that are required to be made to that plan. Sometimes you find that at the time of permitting. Sometimes modifications are just made. At that time, if there's anything that is different on that PD site plan from what is approved by City Council, you can apply for a substantial change review. Then we look at the criteria, which is under 27-138, to determine if it is in fact substantial or not. So in this case, the applicant submitted a request, and it was to expand a dog park area and outdoor amenity area, which I will show you momentarily. And that request would require a reduction in the green space provided. So we'll go over that shortly. And so this is the location of the property. This site is located, and it is bounded by West Carmen Street to the north, North Fremont Avenue is to the west, and then North Rome Avenue is to the east, and Gray Street is to the south. So this is the NoHo development. This was actually, let me go to the next one, sorry. There we go. This was approved in 2021. This was approved for 226 residential multifamily dwelling units. The building is approved at a maximum height of 55 feet or 4 stories, and this also incorporates some commercial development within the overall project. This site is developed, and you'll see, so since that approval, it was developed and it was constructed as approved. What I've done is provided you a bit of history on the waivers granted on the site. So initially, this was rezoned. This was a 2018 rezoning under REZ 1879. There were a total of 5 waivers granted at that time. This project came before council in 2021, and there was 1 waiver requested. And that waiver was to reduce the green space required for multifamily residential. And that reduced it to 27,234 square feet. And so the request, as mentioned earlier, is to be able to utilize synthetic turf in lieu of grass. And so that is the reason for the reduction in the green space. So if they use synthetic turf, it is not recognized in the code as a landscape surface. So what would happen is it requires a further reduction in green space from what was already waived in a 2021 approval. So this is the area. This is a snippet of the site plan, the approved area. You can see in green the area of the green space, which is identified. And then the dog run area, which is where the synthetic turf would be located, is in that hatched area. And it's along the north of this picture, along that north boundary and running along the east. That is where the turf would be located. So in the decision, this was routed for DRC review and comment. We had 1 objection received, and that is from Natural Resources. And I have Erin Mayer here, our forester examiner, and she's going to speak for a moment regarding her comments. But what staff took into consideration is review of the approved PD site plan. And that PD site plan granted a waiver, and that waiver was granted to reduce the green space, and it was from 79,100 square feet required to 27,234 square feet. What cannot be increased administratively is to grant additional on top of what was granted through a waiver with council. So when staff reviewed this request, it was determined to be substantial because we cannot allow an additional increase of a reduction in green space, which has already been waived. So those were the factors we utilized in our decision. And I'll turn it over to Erin so she can quickly review with you her comments. And then we both are available for questions if you have them after the presentation. Thank you, Council.
If I could have the overhead. Okay.
Yeah, pull it down a little bit. Okay, perfect. There we go.
Okay, Erin Mayer, Development Coordination. So I just want to go over that this again was a green space waiver. They're asking to increase the green space waiver. Green space is synonymous with a landscape area in the code, and the definition is before you. It's the minimum area on the parcel required to be landscaped with plants and other materials. And then it directly references the definition of landscape in the landscape area definition. And that is plant material which is to be planted or retained. So based on these definitions, you know, artificial turf does not meet this. And we thought this was a substantial change to reduce the green space.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clendenin and Councilmember Hurtak.
Question for you. So, you know, obviously, we're now in a water shortage again. Is it our code, I mean, I understand that we don't necessarily want artificial turf to be replaced everywhere in lieu of plantings and all, but possibly maybe our code is outdated because of, you know, other water considerations and drainage considerations. That is there something from your environmental standpoint that grass would be superior to artificial turf in this type of an application?
Well, there's nothing really stating they have to use grass. They could use Florida-friendly landscaping, native plants, or
but
something.
For dogs, I mean.
For dogs, yeah. They could just be using mulch as well too. There are other
So
things.
mulch would be applicable within code?
You could, well, if you had, I guess, mulch, just straight mulch. There are trees in this area which aren't being shown on the site plan, but there are trees. There are 8 or so palms in this area where close to where this dog run is located.
Right.
And so they can't put artificial turf within protective radii of palms either. So.
Is that proposed? Is there something? Did they propose removing palms or?
No, they didn't propose to remove any.
So they would have to comply with the radius
Correct.
of the turf.
Comply with the code, yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. So this really isn't a case about turf or not turf. It's just not following the rules. So if they had asked for a further reduction back then, we wouldn't be here.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. That concludes staff presentation? Yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will have the applicant come up and present. Mr. Bentley, please state your name. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. My name is Mark Bentley, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa 33602. I represent the applicant. What our client's seeking to accomplish today is for a minor reduction in green space, and instead of planting regular grass in lieu of that, it's kind of state-of-the-art permeable artificial turf. This relates to a really important area of the project where it's a congregate area for the residents exclusively, where they have outside seating, a fire pit, and also a dog area. It's interesting, Aaron mentioned to you that if we just simply wanted to use mulch, you know, I wouldn't be up here today, and really that's not satisfactory. The client's made a really good faith effort over the last couple of years using regular vegetation with irrigation. It's a high traffic area. There are dogs there. There are utilities in this area where technicians go in and out, so it just hasn't been successful. It's my understanding that recently the city, I think, amended their code or technical standards to allow the use of artificial turf for residential purposes to qualify for open space, not green space. And in doing so, the city came up with a technical standard, and I just want to let council know that our contractor and landscape contractor, Drew Futch, he's worked with the city on that initiative, and what we intend to do would meet with the city's newly adopted standards. The benefits of the turf versus real grass, it's a practical alternative in an urban environment that is subject to heavy pedestrian traffic, and which presents difficulty in providing maintenance and constant irrigation. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these projects, especially in this area, that utilize turf. And I think Ryan's gonna go over a couple of those. And then our contractor, Drew Futch, who I mentioned, has worked with the city on their new initiative. And also Drew has worked on a lot of these projects, including he handled all the turf at Sparkman Wharf, and he'll be making a brief presentation. Talk about rezoning. LaShawn mentioned that we had gone through the zoning process for the PD twice. So if we don't get the reduction today, then we're gonna have to be in a position where we have to utilize the PD process for a simple reduction in green space to allow the use of synthetic turf. I think Mr. Clendenin made a good point, especially what's going on right now with the climate and the drought conditions, is I think it's something that's important that the city consider. I think the next step in the process, my understanding in terms of modification of the code, is to kind of look at artificial turf as a viable replacement for green space. So we'd have to rezone the property, and I think there's a better use of the city's resources. Instead of having us go through the rezoning process, it takes 6 months, several $1,000s for a new site plan, et cetera, you know the whole drill. So in any event, that being said, what I'd like to do now is turn over to Ryan Manassi, and Ryan's going to kind of walk you through a couple of these zoning modifications and show you the site plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manassi.
Good morning, City Council. Ryan Manassi. And I'll be using the overhead if we can put that on screen. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Let me get the header down so you can see the referenced rezoning. So, sorry, I'm not good at this today. So this is the site plan from rezoning 1879, and what I did, I highlighted the holdout. It was like a holdout property in 2018. It was a single-family home, and when this development came in for the multifamily and that convenience good retail sales, this property was excluded from the 2018 rezoning. So just to highlight that area, and that coincides with what LaShawn Dock was talking about with the previous rezonings. Incidentally, in 2021, the property was attained through this rezoning, and it was now included, and that's where you're seeing this area here, shown on screen, is where that holdout property was. So again, you know, what we're dealing with today, as Mark stated, is an existing built environment through the substantial change application. And what we've done is highlighted the green space that is existing on site to include, and I'll zoom in on this area here in another slide to kind of show you that dog park area and amenity area, but just to show the area that we're proposing for the reduction in green space. So again, nothing affecting the built environment, no increase in height, no increase in density, nothing like that. This is merely comes down to what we're using on the ground. Now to just briefly talk about some of the multifamily green space reductions. Maybe I'll zoom out, that'll be better, there we go. So this was in 2015, and this is immediately to the south, and their reduction was for, from their requirement of 350 square feet per unit to 96.25 square feet per unit. And then just to kind of go through a couple others, this was a similar reduction in the area of this NoHo, this North Hyde Park area. It's about 3 blocks northwest. This is rezoning 1652, and they provided 136 square feet per unit. Now, that's relatively in line with where we're at. These examples that I'm showing you range from in the 60% reductions to as high as the one shown on screen to like 86% reduction in green space. And what's on screen here is the rezoning 1934, which provided 48.77 square feet per unit. But again, I'm just trying to show you in the surrounding area, this multifamily mixed-use environment and this urban environment has notoriously been before City Council to approve these reductions because it's just not feasible in this environment to provide that 350 square feet. And I know Council's very, very well aware of those reductions because you obviously see these. But just to show you what the nature is of the surrounding area. Now, to zoom in on our parcel specifically, or this subject area, the yellow is outlining this grill area and seating area that would be included. So the yellow is really just indicative of what we're proposing here today, which is a change, right? And we understand the code sections, and we understand this is, like Councilwoman Hurtek pointed out, this is a reduction in the previously approved waiver amount. But what I just want to point out is, again, it's a reduction due to the fact of the artificial turf. More or less, it's almost meeting that 60% reduction from the original approval if we could utilize the turf for the calculation in green space. And again, we'll have Drew come up here in a second and he'll go over the material and some of the technology behind this new system, because turf has come a long way over the years. And just to point out, from the provided on this plan, I know that staff indicated the plan that was submitted was reducing it down to that 23,000 number. We found another 100-some square feet that we can include, but just to give you an idea, it's generally like a 1.6% reduction from the waiver that's currently there. So the next couple photos are just the existing conditions, and I think this was kind of alluded to, which is mulch and ground cover. So obviously there's a lot of foot traffic, dog traffic. Our furry friends have to go somewhere in these environments. And you could see the vegetation is not growing well, and it's not for lack of irrigation, as you could see the in-ground irrigation. And then also, this is kind of around that existing fire pit. Again, you could see how it's just getting ate up by dogs and foot traffic, et cetera. So really what we're proposing is going to be complementary to this existing use with this existing environment for the residents. And then this slide really just shows on the left what our proposal is. And the light green, again, is the AstroTurf, and the dark green is bona fide green space as defined by the code. And again, the fire pit is existing, the grill area was recently permitted. This new seating area would be the difference. This little dog paw shake-off area into the AstroTurf would be the new areas. But I wanted to put it next to the existing approval to kind of show you, again, the makeup of this building is not changed at all. We're literally talking about the ground cover. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew. He's going to introduce himself as well as provide you some additional information regarding the turf that we're proposing to put in place here.
Thank you very much. And this is a permeable turf?
I'll let the expert say. I don't want to speak for.
Drew Futch, contractor with Hardeman Landscape. And yeah, so we've been working with the city. They've been determining permeable, impermeable turf over the last year or so, and a number of meetings that they've held. One of the permeable systems that they've adopted is an aggregate base. So it has rock under it instead of a crushed concrete material, which is not permeable over time. We have an equal equivalent with what you see here as this plastic grid system, which creates a permeable layer.
We can't see it on
You
camera.
can't see it on
You
there.
can pull it up and hold it. Sure. Thank you, sir.
So it's a plastic grid system, and there's several manufacturers that make these, but this is the one we prefer. And as you can see, it has holes in it and a grid underneath. Actually creates 1 inch of rainfall retention. So it's exceeds really the details and the city has created for permeable turf. And it's been accepted by stormwater over the years. We've permitted turf even before permitting was required for turf as a company. So we use a material underneath that's also permeable. This goes down on native soil. Turf goes on top of the product. The turf is also permeable. We have all the test results and everything needed for that. You'll see this is more just information about what I just showed you. This is the underlayment, and these are the test reports for the permeability of each product. So we use this on all of our projects, residential or commercial, and we feel like it's for the betterment of the city, not contributing to stormwater issues and additional runoff to the right-of-way. So on this project, we'd be using the same product, and which requires very little maintenance. The watering is purely for cleaning the product. There's no irrigation required, as the code would show. We've yeah, so just some example of how the city has viewed our product and our installation method before.
And it's showing it's 100%.
Yep.
Impervious. And then rendering for you.
So in the rendering, you'll see that the area that we're proposing to be artificial turf is currently low-volume irrigation ground cover that's really reverted to essentially dirt. The dogs are out there, they're using the area. It's dirty, it's messy. I'm sure that the people who live here are not happy to let their dogs play out there and then bring them back into their apartment. So we're gonna have a little dog cleaning area, entry area, as well as a turf area for them to play in.
Great, thanks. And these are just some renderings showing what Drew's team has come up with, and, you know, just to kind of visualize what we're proposing there. I think the question did come up about the trees. The trees, I just talked to Drew, they're gonna remain, so it's just that area that wouldn't count towards a lot of green space. And with that, I would like to have the Gray No-Hose property manager come up here and just speak briefly about her residence.
Councilmember Carlson.
Can I ask a quick question about the turf? Did any of the studies you showed have any information about the potential of the runoff of chemicals or microplastics into the water supply?
To my knowledge, that's never been, even brought up in any of the meetings with the city building department. The turf is all tested to be lead-free and toxin-free. It's also antimicrobial impregnated material, so it can't create or grow mold or bacteria in it. As far as microplastics, let me show you the turf. It's intact, so it's not falling apart on you, right? I just cut this one this morning, so it might have a few loose fibers, but it's not a material that disintegrates. And we don't use you might be thinking about like the crumb rubber that you see like in sports fields that goes as an infill in turf. We don't use that. We use a silica, a sand.
Doesn't require it.
Doesn't require it.
The staff person wants to comment.
Erin Mayer, Development Coordination. I'm just gonna show this document that was submitted to the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council. They had a workshop on artificial turf. I don't know the specifics on the product they're using, so it may not be, exactly the same. But there are some environmental impacts of using artificial turf. There's like a lack of any sort of ecological, life typically below the ground of artificial turf. There are some harmful carcinogenic chemicals and substances like volatile organic compounds and PFAS substances, and these can enter stormwater runoff and water bodies. And a lot of these studies view crumb rubber infill, which that may not be that product, as a major source of microplastics in artificial turf. So yeah, this was.
Can you scroll up with this? Who was this?
This is Stetson Law that did an analysis study, and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council worked with them to do a workshop on artificial turf.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, that's.
Thank you very much. We have the property
Can we
manager, you
finish?
said? Yes, sir. Come on up.
And then I'll wrap up right after.
Yes, how much time do they have left in the presentation?
2:15.
Okay, yes, ma'am, please say your name.
Yes, Melanie Savage. I am here in my capacity as the property manager of the Gray NoHo, representing the residents of the Gray community. As a community, we ask that you approve the request to redeem the proposed changes presented to you here today as non-substantial. Your approval would allow for the permitting and development of a dog park within our community. As the manager of the Gray, I've noticed a significant demand from both current and prospective tenants for a designated space for the furry friends to run, play, and socialize. Currently, our options for dog-friendly spaces are very limited. Some residents use common space that's not suitable for pets, which is a burden and nearly impossible to maintain properly. Other residents are forced to take their dogs on long drives to get to the nearest dog park. So as a result, many tenants are unable to provide their pets with the exercise and socialization they need to lead happy and healthy lives. Moreover, a dog park would not only benefit pet owners, but would also have a positive impact on the overall quality of life in our community. It could encourage residents to spend more time outdoors, promote a sense of community, and provide a space for social interaction among pet owners. The dog park will be maintained by our staff and gated with controlled access so that only the residents of the Gray NoHo can utilize the space. In conclusion, I respectfully request that the City Council grant approval of this request that will allow for the development of a dog park in the Gray community. I believe that it would be a valuable addition to our area and would provide numerous benefits to both residents and visitors alike. That's all I have to say.
Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Would you like to wrap it up? Yes,
Sure.
sir.
Just a couple comments. I know we have rebuttal, and I don't know if we need to use that or not. But with respect to the environmental impact, I took a look at that memo that Aaron presented. It looked like it was from a couple law students at Stetson University College of Law. So in terms of their expertise, I mean, I really wouldn't know, but I just thought I'd point that out. Here again, we could use mulch, and I wouldn't even be here if we can continue to use mulch. It's not practical. It doesn't work, especially in an urban environment like that with a lot of traffic. And in terms of environmental impacts, if we did have grass, obviously there'd be nutrient runoff with respect to utilization of fertilizer, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. Otherwise, we just appreciate your consideration.
Do we have any questions from council members at this time? If not, we'll go to public comment. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for staff. If this is approved, will they have to pay an additional in lieu fee?
Yes, thank you. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination, that is correct. If this is approved, this grants that waiver to allow that additional green space reduction. And then that is due at fee in lieu.
So
at the time
they
of
will
permitting.
have to pay an additional fee?
Yes.
And then to the applicant, you'll understand that and are okay with it?
Yeah, so the site plan submitted by the applicant shows that adjusted waiver, which is embedded within that. But just for the record, I would like to state, we did receive one letter of objection with this request from members of the public, and that is also within the record. But also just to mention briefly, Mark mentioned the turf, and that's being allowed in residential. Just to state on the record that it does not supersede the green space requirement. That requirement is still applicable, and which is why we are here today also, just because we also cannot administratively grant an additional waiver from what has been granted by council. And we have that process in place as protections of the approved PD. So this is why we're here today before you. Any other questions for
Councilmember
staff?
Clendenin.
So, I'm inclined to support this, but I have a couple of concerns I want to make sure that I'm clear about, because this is one of those situations I don't want to let common sense get, or government get in the way of common sense. But I also don't want to I'm not necessarily ready to say this is something that we should be able to administratively approve throughout the city, because I'm not comfortable we're there yet of evaluating, the good, the bad, and the evil. And I understand why staff's dilemma on this issue and why it's before us today. If we were to grant this, can we grant it without precedent so that we still will deal with this issue, or?
Kamaria Pettis-Malka from the legal department. So, Councilman Clendenin, each application that comes before staff has to meet the requirements of 27-138. So if staff feels that the application or the request to make the change to the rezoning application does not meet that criteria, then it's up to the applicant to decide whether or not they want to appeal that decision, and that matter will come before you. But each application has to meet the criteria in the code. This is not just a blanket, what your decision is today will happen to subsequent to other additional decisions.
So a subsequent applicant came before us. Is there an equal treatment issue with this? Would somebody be able to use that as a precedent or a case for? No.
Respectfully, Councilman Clendenin, it's whether the staff has to review the code, just as City Council does. So if it doesn't meet the criteria in the code, then staff has to deny that request.
So this will be a one-off?
Correct.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Wait, Councilmember Miranda, then I'll go back to Councilmember Hurtado.
Thank you very much. Just to really reiterate what we've heard, you're going from 118 to 102 square feet? The difference?
Correct.
Per apartment?
That's correct. That's what we've indicated with staff and everything.
So that's what the truck says, that you're closing in something you had before that was larger and you did it smaller.
Not closing in, but using it.
Well, I understand.
Yes,
But
correct.
the dog park is closed in, what I saw.
Correct.
Right. And then the second one, the most important is if this was not here before the 16 square feet that you have less per unit, would there be any objection from the city in losing the turf versus the grass? Artificial turf versus grass. And I know that's not part of it, but in my mind, I got to get some clarity.
Yes, LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. At the time of permitting, it still would not be recognized as landscape. So if they were gonna use turf, let's say, and they went to permitting, they'd have to show they're providing some of the green space to meet their green space requirement.
And I'm not trying to divert, but I just see, when I go to one of the box stores like Lowe's or Home Depot, I see turf for sale everywhere. And so then if I wanted to do my house and change, without the difference of square footage or anything, change my grass to turf, do I have to get a permit?
I mean, you should not.
I'm just trying to find out environmentally what the deal
Well,
is.
you're still gonna have a green space requirement for your home. So you're replacing it with turf, you still would have your, green space requirement, and you still have to show your treatment.
And Aaron Mayor, Development Coordination, so what they were talking about with the city when they said they passed the new code, the stormwater engineering technical manual came up with a detail for artificial turf to be considered permeable or pervious. And so this is the detail of the artificial turf system. So when you apply to put in turf, you have to check that it's gonna be pervious to meet stormwater, and then you have to submit your detail of the turf you're gonna use.
And I'm not trying to, do anything that's any different, but I guess I violated the law myself. 20-some years ago, I took all the grass out of the house because we had a water drought. And I put vertical mash so the water would go through, but I haven't had grass in my house for 23 years. All I've had is, well, the water does not run off, it goes right through the rocks, and I have small little rocks. And I noticed something on the same block where I live, that they did the same thing, but they used shells, the little shells. I'm not trying to be smart or anything else, I'm just trying to be factual, that maybe I violated the law. I'm not sure I did. But I never heard that you cannot change it. Maybe I'm wrong, that you cannot change it. You have to have grass in front of your house. In fact, there's some cities in some states you have no grass, like in Phoenix, Arizona, because they have no water. So
I mean,
the
you are
problem-
required to have 25% green space, and, multiple things can make up what green space is.
Well, I got green space.
Only 25% of your turf can be irrigated, however, per the
Well,
code.
you better send court enforcement on my house, because 22 years ago I did it.
We'll make a motion.
Oh, they're coming, they're listening, they're coming.
I mean, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite and say, you're right or wrong, when I did it myself 23 years ago. And I did it because of the drought. And environmentally, I should be rewarded. But on the other side, maybe I should be put in jail. I don't know.
We'll make a motion.
I know you want me in jail.
Maybe.
I'm trying to be comical or anything else. I'm trying to be real realistic about life. You want the people to save water. You want the people not to plant other than, things that are natural. We violate every law in the world by planting all these trees that are not friendly to the environment. The city of Tampa does that. I don't know.
Councilmember Hurtado.
Thank you. I look at this as a living versus non-living, and if we take away all the living to put impervious or impervious, if we replace it with non-living things, we're also harming the environment and not getting enough oxygen. And I mean, so there are balances here, and I think that's really what we're looking at. So the reason I don't think we're gonna get this a lot more often, or we may for some of these older projects, but the newer projects are gonna come already asking for it because they'll know the artificial turf because they're gonna add dog parks already, and they're already gonna know. This was just an older project that didn't have that thought yet. So I don't knowing that there's an in lieu fee, I don't have a problem with this. And I understand that sometimes there are issues that we have to come back for, and I appreciate that staff does that. But for me, it's just not an issue.
Councilmember Clendenin, then we'll go to public comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something because Councilman Miranda said just make sure that everybody understands the way I understand it, or maybe I'm wrong. The square footage, we're just talking about the changes of green space. The actual application of the area is not changing, correct?
That's correct.
So it's the only difference as far as, so the square footage, the same use of square footage is the same use of square footage before and after. Okay,
that's
just want to
correct,
make sure
sir.
we're clear on that. Okay, very good, thank you.
Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? You have somebody next to you, sir. Yes, sir. Please
Is there
state your
guilt by
name.
association?
See, Mark he's wondering what I have to say about this. I'm the chairman of the Tampa Bay Builders Association Governmental Affairs Committee.
Your name, sir?
Steve Michelini. And
Thank you,
I'm not speaking on behalf of TBBA, but I can tell you that we've been dealing with this issue for over a year and working with city staff, and there are conflicts in the code where the use of artificial turf is not recognized by the natural resources, but it is by stormwater. And we came to a conclusion with stormwater and the use of the pallets and the drainage when it actually is more efficient than just grass. And Mark is also correct. It was 3 law students from Stetson that wrote the report. They gave us a very brief overview of what they thought was the problem. And I mean, quite honestly, I was shocked when they came back and said we were worried about bugs, not being able to live in artificial turf. So anyway, we challenged their report. It is in the record, and we do have experts that have calculated the drainage coefficient, the safety of this product being used, and you will see it coming back and being used more frequently. We also will be presenting some requested code changes that will correct some of those interpretations. But when you can put asphalt in the city up to the base of a tree, but you can't put artificial turf, it makes no sense. So there are a lot of things that have to be corrected here. And I would just say personally that this is a good application and an appropriate application of what should happen with the use of artificial turf. I'm not affiliated with this project. I have nothing to do with this, except that we've been dealing with it for over a year and trying to reach some resolution. The city did not have a permit process for artificial turf, and now they're just instituting one that will go into effect in the next couple of months. But anyway, thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in public comment? I see no one else. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Council, thank you. LaShawn, Dock Development Coordination. It has been asked, so I just want to state for the record, this request, if it is granted, if the decision is overturned, would allow a waiver of the green space requirement from 27,234 square feet to 23,208 square feet. So that would be the waiver on the site plan.
Thank you very much.
Council.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to be supporting the applicant. I did not hear opposition, and I understand the questions were very well asked by council members. Would you like rebuttal, Mr. Bentley? Do you need rebuttal?
No, thank you, sir.
All right, may I have a yes, sir.
I just want to tell Mr. Bentley, this case is going, you got to slow down. You're going way too fast. It's a Beatles line. I'm sorry. That's all.
Oh, Mr. Bentley, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my John Lennon 1964 Beatles fan club pin.
Here we go.
I didn't,
Hey, I'll meet you,
Yeah,
I'll meet you at
guys.
Starbucks if you want to talk about it.
I was gonna wear my George Harrison, but I chose John Lennon today, so you know.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, sir.
Yeah, after we close, you have to tell us whether you like the new song or not.
Yes.
But the question I brought up about turf is, based on the testimony, is a discussion for another day, not today. And so, based on the testimony, I'd be supporting this thing.
By the way, 50% of all water usage is outside, not inside.
All right, may I have a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. What is the pleasure of council? Would somebody like to make a motion? We have the motions in front of us to either uphold or overturn the denial. Councilmember Clendenin, please go ahead.
Okay, I move to overturn the ZA denial for the zoning administrator's denial of the proposed substantial change request in subsection 2316 for the property located at 510 North Rome Avenue because the petitioner provided competent and substantial evidence that the proposed change request to REZ 2100000001 are non-substantial changes according to the standards set forth in section 27-138-7 for the following reasons. And one of the biggest reasons I say is and it's only a piece of the documentation is in that section of the code, is irrigation and water conservation. Beyond that, I think the previous stated arguments in the discussions would be suffice. Thank you.
So your motion is to overturn the denial, for clarity. Do I have a second? Second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Let's do a roll call just in case.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Henderson? Vieira?
Yes.
Miranda? Carlson? And Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Henderson being absent.
So, Mr. Bentley, what do you think of the new Beatles?
Well, I think it's pretty good, but it's one reason, it took them so long to do it because, just the quality of the song and actually the demo. They started that with Anthology in the 90s, and then Marty knows more about it than I.
Yeah, what makes it better is actually the music video. When you watch the video,
Wasn't it? Some things are best love. It was, were the two songs in it, was it Free as a Bird and Real Love?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep, Councilman
That's
Carlson.
impressive.
Yeah, there's a version of it done by a Beatles cover band that has more, they add more guitar in and a faster beat, because they weren't stuck to John's vocal. And I think it's a lot better. It's more like the old Beatles.
Really?
But yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out. Hey, thank you all very much. Take care.
Yes, ma'am? Let's see. No. I'm really trying to stay here till 6 o'clock today, so I'm trying to go real slow. When do you want to bring up the walk-on, Mr.
Can we just do
Shelby?
it now? We have 30
You could do the,
minutes to-
well, the thing is, we have the
We have the
administration
administrative
upstate
Yeah.
or present.
Yeah, all right. And then, are you ready with the resolution?
The resolution is ready.
Okay, well, let's bring on the walk-on. It's just moving the resolution. This is approving, ratifying, and confirming the appointment of Carol Wallace Post as a member of the ARC for a 3-year term commencing November 2nd. Motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Council.
that takes care of the addendum. Yes, sir, Russell is in the back. And this is for the administrative update to discuss this. After he does the administrative update, there's a couple of things. We can take up the EDC item for 64, or we can wait until we come back from lunch because we don't have the police chief. And what do you think? Anybody?
I think we could, well, let's see where we are, but I think we could probably do maybe 67 if she's available.
Okay.
Or 68 if Mr. Bede is available, because 68 won't take very long.
Okay, we'll play it by ear.
Also on 60,
Is there somebody still in the back? No.
that's Javier.
That's Javier. Yeah, it'll be EDC, correct? Yes, sir.
We're expecting the EDC to appear as well.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I think some folks might be coming after lunches. Yeah, I heard. So, yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Russell Halbert. I'm the CIO, CTO for the City of Tampa. I'm also here to comment on the new Beatles song. Maybe there was some confusion. We're here. I'm here with Marilyn from our customer experience, our customer experience director, to announce and confirm the launch of our new government CRM, customer relationship management system. It is a product from Salesforce along with Encapsulate that's specifically designed to help governments track requests from citizens, distribute them through the organization, and report on them afterward. We started this project in April. We did our soft launch yesterday, and we're going to be continuing those activities through the end of the year. I just want to mention that it replaces our old in-house developed CSC system, which Advanced Carbon Dating has indicated was created some 21 years ago or more. So we're very, very grateful. I did want to say thanks, folks. We've been trying to replace that for a long time. I want to say thanks to this administration and this council for giving us the ability to replace it with something modern and something that will integrate with our other projects. Some statistics, because I know you guys are interested in these kind of things. We did 32 hours of training for 150 people. We have 17 how-to videos, 21 user guides that have been distributed for these. We have contacted and worked with 44 department leads throughout the organization to teach how to use the new system and how to manage their work under that new system. And in January, we will be working with our neighborhood engagement partners, Janelle and company, to do a launch for our neighborhoods as well, so that they learn how to use the new system and can dig in on the reporting side of things. We're going to be, all new requests are coming through the new system now. We're closing out old requests in the old system, and we're going to be doing that through the end of December. And once we're done, we'll be fully on the new system. So I'm calling it kind of a soft launch. Basically, all the indications, our first request started rolling through yes, about 11 seconds after we turned it on. And the indication so far is that things are working well for us. I did want to thank all of the departments that are involved, but I especially want to thank Raquel, our ADA coordinator, who works with all of our vendors when we're deploying new systems to ensure that they meet not just the spirit, not just the letter, but the spirit of our assistive technologies and our ADA uses of the systems. And she's doing the same thing with this system as she has with our others. With that, folks, I just want to let you know we are live. We have reached out to your staffs for how they would like to use the system, and we are open to whatever you guys need in order to address your needs in the future as well. We'll be doing follow-up with your staff. And Marilyn said she just wanted to stand and nod sagely as I said these things. But if you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
Council?
I don't really have a question, but more of a comment. I just want to say thank you for the update, and thank you for reaching out to the community. Are you specifically reaching out to individual neighborhood associations, or how are you doing your outreach?
I will tell you that was my intent. We are working through our neighborhood engagement department, and I'm almost positive they know who all those people are.
Yes.
So, but I will make sure that that's the case.
Yes, any way that we can help the public. You said there are 17 videos.
Yeah.
Are any of those videos made for the public?
It depends on how you mean. I think they're usable by anyone, and we are going to make a subset of them available outside for our constituents.
Yes, yeah, I think that would help in the transition. I know transitions can take a while, so I know that you'll have some hiccups and some bumps in the road, but again, appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the community outreach in order to learn the new system.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Oh, you want something? Okay.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things for this and OnBase. Can you please work with communication to get us posts that we can post, the graphics that we can post on social media, and any links to anything that you want us to link
So that you guys can refer people yes, absolutely.
During Hurricane and Weather, they give us graphics that we can post. And then also with OnBase, I found that people would tell me, and then I went to the normal places that you would look, like searching Google searches or searching within the website, and the pages come up, and it's not, it was not evident that something had changed. And so people would click on the old one. A lot of people have it bookmarked, and they didn't see the agenda pop up in Sire. And so it'd be great if there were, at least for 30 or 60 days, some kind of ads or pop-ups or something that would, something graphically that would point people to the fact that there are new systems that they can look at.
We did, sir, see that a number of places where we don't traditionally look for links did have links to the old ones. We're doing outreach as of this morning. We've corrected about 5 different places. We'll continue that outreach, and we will have a notice on the website indicating that we've made that change. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day. Let's do 67 with Ms. Elman here in the room, and then we go to 68 because Mr. B-Day is online. And then, if it's okay, we break for lunch, and then we'll come back and welcome Judge Salcinas. Yes, ma'am.
Morning, Andrea Zellman, City Attorney. So in response to Councilman Carlson's motion, I've come up with language that I would propose be added to the city's personnel manual. If that's satisfactory to the maker of the motion and the council, I believe that meets the intent of what you were asking for. So if it is satisfactory, we'll go ahead and, under the charter, the mayor makes the personnel rules by executive order, so we'll put it in executive order form and have the personnel manual updated.
Would you mind, just for the sake of the public, reading it, because it's only one sentence?
I apologize, yes.
And then also let us know what the penalty is if somebody does it.
Okay, so you had asked for something, you had originally asked for an ordinance to require city staff to refrain from discussing pending litigation publicly or the threat of litigation, similar to what's in the city council rules of procedure. So along those lines, I propose adding the following language to the city's personnel manual, which says, quote, employees and officials shall not publicly discuss matters where the city is or is likely to be a party in litigation without concurrence of the City of Tampa Legal Department. So basically just reminding and telling everyone at the city that if you're asked a question about a matter that's in litigation or likely to result in litigation against the city, you should consult with our office. Your default should be to say we don't comment, but if you have questions, you should consult our office. There may be certain instances where we may say it's all right to discuss it, but most likely not. And the way the personnel manual works, without going too much into it, there's progressive discipline, oral admonishment, suspension, temporary dismissal, depending on person's conduct. So, but any violation of the personnel rules can result in discipline by the employee's supervisor.
We don't need to make a motion.
You don't need to make a motion, or just, if you, maybe just let me know that the language proposed is what you were looking for, and then we'll, you can make a motion asking me to put it into executive order form for the mayor's signature to make it in addition to the personnel manual.
To ask the city attorney to add this language in a suggested executive order for the mayor.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson. We have a second from Councilmember Clendenin. Is the motion sufficient, ma'am?
Mm-hmm.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And thank you very much for.
Thank you.
doing that.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mrs. Elman. All right, we will go to Mr. B-Day, and then we're going to break for lunch. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just wanted to lead up to this. We have received the draft mobility multimodal impact fee study, and I was not looking for a full report on this today. I just wanted, because of how long it takes to get the steps to go forward, that's really what we're here for today, to talk about next steps and get them started. We're having the same prolonged discussion about the public safety impact fee, so if we don't get it started now, we're just going to be much further behind. So
thank you very much. Yes, sir, Mr. B-Day.
Morning, Council. Morning, Chair. Vic B-Day, Director of Mobility Department, here to talk about item 68. So the request was made, as Councilwoman Hurtak mentioned, to understand what the next steps are. So to update our impact fees, and of course, it was mentioned earlier, the last time they were updated was in the late 80s. So certainly, this is something we are looking at. I'd like to clarify, in cognizance of that, we had initiated this draft study. It was part of a broader conversation to look at different revenue sources and fees. And that's why we wanted to have some homework done in advance. In terms of next steps, this is governed by the Florida Impact Fee Act of the Florida Statutes, Chapter 163.31801. And to update the fee, we're looking at a schedule of about 2 years. 12 to 15 months of that would be to conduct the studies themselves, multimodal and mobility fee studies. Both of them have to be studied for a recommendation. It does take us about 4 to 6 months to do competitive procurement, the RFQ, onboard a consultant, and so on. And then a couple of months to revise the ordinance and adopt the ordinance, which includes 2 workshops per Florida statutes as well. The cost, I don't have a clear picture on the cost yet because we've done some work already and then there's a lot of engagement, but we're looking at about $500,000, possibly $1 million, most likely in that $500,000 range. One thing to note about Florida Impact Fee Act or the law in general, that we are looking at capital improvements for incremental changes or the impact of developments, and these funds cannot be used for maintenance or existing facilities. The reason I make this point is when we were examining different fund sources, we're looking at what our biggest need was as a city, and it is deferred maintenance. And this wouldn't be the best tool. It does help to some degree as we grow, but I just wanted council to be aware of that. And then to summarize, we're looking at 2 years, somewhere in the $500,000 range if we started today. And I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So what do you need from us today in order to get this moving forward?
So that is council's pleasure. If moving forward means initiating a study, council can make a motion and vote and request us to move forward. I would like to mention that this expense was not anticipated in this fiscal year's budget. However, that is council's pleasure.
Thank you. By the way, when will we have a final of this draft multimodal impact fee study?
We could finalize the draft in the next few months. Our consultant currently is on vacation and out of town, but I can get you that information. That should be in lesser time than 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council. Emma Gregory, Assistant City Attorney. I just wanted to clarify that the draft report is actually a framework.
Okay.
Setting forth how we would go about the study. So the actual study that would support increasing the impact fee, that still has to be started, completed, et cetera. So
Great.
I just wanted to clarify
Great,
that.
then I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So is there fiscal issues related to this first step that you just referred to? Do we have to worry about budget considerations for this draft proposal?
I mean, I would let Mr. Bide answer
Mr.
that,
Bide.
but it will certainly cost money. There's a lot of statutory requirements that have to go in.
That's not done in-house? You're contracting this out?
Yeah, it's a fairly large undertaking.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, so I make a motion to go ahead and get started with the multimodal impact fee study.
I'll second that motion to get this party started.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, I would like you to come back in maybe, you said if you get started, you'll have the RFP ready to go in about 4 months?
Correct. About 4 to 6 months is kind of the time it takes to build a scope, put it out, and then go through the CCNA process.
So
Okay, so-
you want to change your motion to have a comeback time on this?
Yes, yeah, just a little update. So I'm gonna ask that, that you move forward and that you come back in, it's November, December, January, February, March, April, May. In the beginning of May, just to update us. May 2nd, please.
So, Mr. Shelby?
Just a clarification, just for the clerk. So then the motion is really two parts, but it's within the same motion. Besides coming back, but the main part of the motion is to initiate the process for.
Yes, I can separate the motions if you prefer.
They don't.
No, okay.
Well, so why don't we restate it from the beginning and include
Sure.
it all in for the clerk?
I'm going to go ahead and ask that we move forward with the study so that we can initiate the increase in impact fees, and that staff will come back on May 2nd, 2024 to update us on their progress.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Vieira. I guess all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I don't remember exactly what we said we were gonna do before lunch, but, and.
We said we were going to go to lunch after this motion, but we have time if we want. Is
Yeah, and
staff
then-
ready for?
Well, here's what I was gonna say is that, as you all know, I have a lot of concerns about ShotSpotter and the way the information was presented, but some recent conversations I've had with police officers, the majority of police officers I speak to don't like it, but some of them do. And since this is free for now, and there are some police officers that think it's worth continuing for a year, I'm inclined to go ahead and approve it. If nobody else objects, I think we can, the chief of police and the police officers need to be out in the field solving crimes. I'd rather go ahead and just approve these now and save time this afternoon. And
So your
let them
proposal,
also-
if without objection from council, is to move forward 61, 62, and 63?
I mean, I have some comments, and I mean, we've got 9 minutes, I'm happy to make them now. I
Okay,
don't need
so why
rebuttal.
don't we take up 61, 62, 63, and we'll hear Councilwoman's Hurtak's comments.
And if I can, just for the purposes of the record, just know that the police chief is not present, so when you
Right.
make your comments, obviously, there's nobody here to be able to respond or reply.
Yeah.
And as long as council's aware of that, that's fine.
Very good. Okay, Councilwoman Hurtak.
Well, I mean, also don't approve, I do not support using ShotSpotter for many reasons. I went ahead and did some research. It was said on October 19th that, from representatives, that they are not aware of other cities that have stopped using it because it's inaccurate. And I have here 5 different cities that have stopped using it. San Antonio's chief of police led the charge to end the city's ShotSpotter program from the Texas Standard. He said, "We made a better than good faith effort trying to make it work. We're going to use that money to provide more community engagement, which ShotSpotter can't provide." And that's really the issue for me. I think this money, which from my understanding was a budget line before we received the grant, that we should be using that money, as many constituents said this morning, for active participation. $280,000 could clearly pay for stay and play for Friday and Saturday nights for teens. That would easily be used. So I think I know that right now we have this grant, but I would challenge in the future to not use this particular grant for ShotSpotter, which has so many different, and I mean, I've got stories from the Police Chief magazine that ShotSpotter technology simply seems to replace traditional calls for service and does so less efficiently and a greater monetary cost to departments. I have all sorts of studies, Associated Press article, from March 5th, 2022, the system can miss live gunfire right under its microphones or misclassify the sounds of fireworks or cars backfiring as shotguns. ShotSpotter's proprietary algorithms are the company's primary selling point, and it frequently touts this technology in marketing materials as virtually foolproof. But the company guards how its closed system works as a trade secret, a black box largely unscrutable to the public, jurors, and police oversight boards. And so that's what concerns me, is going forward, the ability to use them in court cases. So I won't support this going forward. I really think that we should be looking for grants and spending money and officers' times on things that we know work.
Councilmember Hurtak, Councilmember Carlson had his mic on. I'm sorry, who had the mic on first, Clendenin or Carlson?
It doesn't matter.
I already spoke once.
All right, so Clendenin, Vieira, Carlson.
Yeah, I'm kind of where Councilman Carlson was on this. You know, I had some concerns about the program. Some of those concerns I clarified with staff, and also I reached out to the president of the PBA, who did not have objections to it. The fact that it is a grant, we don't really have a fiscal impact from city budget, though, because it's money that we wouldn't be able to spend it another way.
But we're spending officers' time when they could be spending it on actual.
But anyway, so I'm actually going to support this, and I appreciate Councilman Carlson's. Again, when I speak with the union, everybody here knows that how much I respect labor organizations as the voice of the officers. So knowing that the management and the police support this, and the persons who represent the employees in the police department support this, I will have their backs, and I will support it as well.
Councilmember Vieira, Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, no, I'll be supporting this. Another issue that hasn't been brought up as well is potentially, since this is a grant, I believe, from Tallahassee, the message it'll send when we're lobbying now in Tallahassee for a number of things with our state senators and state representatives, including to have mental health professionals come with police officers on mental health related calls, different things. The message that it may send, I think, would be lackluster. And so that's another thing to consider. You know, I see this as another tool in the toolbox to help our officers in the fight and the war on crime. And again, are there issues? I've done some research on it myself. I'm certainly not a criminologist and far from a police officer. I'd flunk out because I'm overweight, whatever, right? But the people I talk to support it. And I think it's a pretty darn good thing. So again, it's if there's any information that people have on it, I'm sure we're glad to listen to folks on it, et cetera, but I'll be glad to support it. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, what I was saying in the beginning, Mr. Chair, is that although I have a lot of reservations about this, I don't want to waste police chiefs and staff's time this afternoon. There are a lot of issues that they have to deal with right now. I've heard overwhelming complaints about this from police officers, and I think we have to listen to our police officers. That if you look at the data, most of these lead to nothing, and it wastes a lot of their time. But there are a handful of police officers that have told me in the last couple of weeks that they think it's worthwhile. Since it is being paid by grant, I'm okay approving it this year. I probably will want to have a robust conversation next year, but for now, I'm okay just approving it and save the police officers' time this afternoon. To Councilmember Hurtak's discussion, I would be open if she wanted to make a motion to have staff come back in a week or two to talk about how they're going to use the $280,000 that we're going to save that was in the budget that is now being replaced by the grant. Thank you.
Yeah, I 100% would be happy to do that. I just want to just reiterate that this is not using our officers' time wisely by and large. The Chicago Office of Inspector General report in August 24th of 2021, 90% of ShotSpotter alerts are false positives, resulting in police being dispatched 40,000 times when no gun-related violence had taken place. So I'm just saying these are things that I have found in my studies. So I would love to have a discussion about what we can do with that other $280,000, and I look forward to the conversation we're going to have next year surrounding this. I also do not believe that just because we get a grant means we have to take it. If those are the rules from now on, the city can apply for a ton of grants, and then our hands are tied. So we cannot rest on that, because then we are a part of this we're a part of the city government, and we're the part that has to approve the budget, and grants are part of the budget. And so I would think that every time we get a grant, we should still look at it the same way as any other budget item.
I'll say touche. Well said.
Yeah. One last point. Because I honestly agree with everything you're saying, and again, I was there last meeting when we did this. more information that came to light for me is some of the same things that have been discussed earlier. Two things. One, that this program is creating a, for lack of a better word, a genetic database of the shells that they find, and which is actually a substantial recovery because of shots fired. So, which are not maybe not helpful in that particular act if it doesn't reach to a conclusion, but building a database for future crime or future offenses. So that's kind of an intangible benefit that we have to look at. Also, I believe it was somewhere around 25% that of the calls actually, because of shots fired, were not like 911 initiated and actually did lead to something and lead to further discovery to close these cases, or to at least to charge criminals. So I found that statistic interesting. That came to light between these two meetings that we've had this discussion. But I have the same concerns you do, and I think quantitative data next year when we revisit this, as Councilman Carlson wisely said, that we can dig a little bit deeper into it for the next year. It is a grant, and I think right now I think the prudent thing to do is to move forward. Thank you.
Is there a motion to move items 61, 2, and 3? Motion from Councilmember Vieira, was that a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin, roll call vote.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Henderson, Vieira,
Yes.
Miranda, Carlson,
Yes.
Hurtak. No. And Maniscalco.
Yes.
Motion carried with Hurtak voting no and Henderson being absent.
And then I'll go ahead and make a motion to have staff come back on December
7th or 21st?
7th is busy. So let's say the 21st, to talk about ways we can use the $280,000 that was allocated for this before the grant was received.
I think that's a great motion. And you're talking about like a stay and play and
Yes,
something else?
my goal is to have it go toward keeping youth busy. This is what I said right after the shooting. Giving youth something to do in the evenings and the later hours on weekends. We do it all summer.
Yeah,
We should do it every weekend as well.
I agree.
And I think that's just a place to start. We can expand from there.
I agree. We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
And this will be for December 21st. We are in recess until 1:30, and then we will begin with Judge Salsina's recess.
Good job, Mr. Chair.